Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Martial Arts Prodigy. Sorry, I'm Kryptonian. Chapter 101. Take Yi Ren's Super Hearing. He naturally heard what Tu Shanjui said to his family. For a while, Yi Ren looked at him with more pity. Brother Yajun, I feel so uncomfortable. Be obedient, wait until tomorrow's concert is over, now you have to adjust. Yi Ren snapped Tu Shan Yajun aside. So gross again. This time, Tu Shan Yajun couldn't bear it anymore. He glared, raised his fist and rushed over. Boom. However, before getting close, Yi Ren swept a hand on the two-person high steel pillar beside him. That is the lighting bracket for the workers to build the stage. Although it was a hollow steel pipe, the steel column, which was thicker than a human calf, was bent by Yi Ren. He took advantage of the trend. Clatter. He forcibly tore a section of the steel pillar off, and 5 fingers embedded in the steel pillar. Under Tu Shan Yajun's horrified gaze, Yi Ren kneaded the steel pillar into a ball with his backhand, and placed it next to Tu Shan Yajun's head. Then give it a firm pinch. There was that toothache crunching sound. I'm going. That's steel. Tu Shan Yajun doesn't think his head is harder than steel. After Yi Ren casually threw away the scrap iron in his hand, patted the shoulder of Tu Shanjui who had lost his soul. Congratulations, me, Tu Shanjui cried out, not only crying, but also crashing into Yi Ren's arms. He wept bitterly. Tears soaked Yi Ren's skirt in an instant. Yi Ren, although it felt very weird in his heart, Yi Ren still couldn't push him away with all his heart. Say something. This old man, why is his body fragrant? Yi Ren has all kinds of grains in his heart. Ah bah, mixed tastes. After a while, he barely adjusted his mood. But the rehearsal went from bad to worse. Tu Shan Yajun felt very uncomfortable. He wanted to curse but was afraid that Yi Ren would crush his head. Yi Ren took the time to make a phone call with the monitor. He can't go back tonight, and the squad leader just said coldly about it. After a while, he said softly, "Be careful." Time came to the second day. The concert was held as scheduled, which surprised Yi Ren. Lan Lili actually sent him a message. Ask Yi Ren if she is interested in going to the concert with her. Regarding Lan Lili, Yi Ren remembers that he only met her once when he was in the martial arts gym. It turned out that Lan Lili's younger sister, Lan Tingting and Wang Buchong were coming to the concert. Lan Lili felt like she was following a light bulb. That's why I simply asked Yi Ren if he wanted to be together. Why don't you ask Li Fidao? Okay. After Yi Ren hung up the phone, he called Li Fidao again, and said earnestly. Father has hooked you up, it's up to you whether you can grasp it. Thank you, Dad. This guy Li Fidao has actually been greedy for Lan Lili for a long time, and Li Fidao couldn't hold back at all if he was a loli or something. At this time, Tu Shan Yajun hurriedly ran towards Yi Ren. The opening is, "Have you seen my brother? Didn't he go to the toilet?" "Nobody. I've searched everywhere and he's gone." Yi Ren's eyes froze. Just a few minutes ago, Tu Shanjui said that he was going to the toilet. Now she disappeared strangely. Could something have happened? What to do? It will start in an hour. If he doesn't come out, we will lose money and die. Yi Ren looked at Tu Shan Yajun in disbelief. He is so anxious. Is it because you are worried about losing money? Really, scum. After Yi Ren left this sentence, he ran around the entire venue using perspective and super hearing. No, just a few minutes. It is impossible for Tu Shanjui to leave too far. Yi Ren glanced at the sky. It was almost evening, and the light was visibly dimmed. At this time, Yi Ren bowed slowly. Then, Yi Ren flew close to the ground at Mach 3. Where did Tu Shanjui go? He was not in danger, but came to the riverside alone, numb and empty. The Chisha River in City Y is very large and deep, connected to the ocean at the end. Clattering. Tu Shanjui poured all the medicine in the medicine bottle into the water. Then he took a deep breath. Close your eyes. Poof. The cold river water submerged Tu Shanjui's body. He sank slowly. Gululu. A burst of air bubbles flew out, and the pain caused by suffocation made him struggle instinctively. But soon, he became dull and calm. Under the dim and blurred water, Tu Shanjui's consciousness has gradually become hazy. Despite this, he still heard a loud bang. Then, something grabbed him, and the water backed away as fast as it had life. Yi Ren flew out of the river with Tushan's 9 wings in his arms. The afterglow of the evening poured over him. Cough, 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 cough. Tu Shanjui coughed instinctively and spit out all the water in his lungs. After the hazy consciousness regained clarity, he suddenly widened his eyes. You can fly. Yes, without resorting to any weapons. Fly in the air with the flesh. I said, if you can't think about it, you won't throw yourself into the river, you haven't paid my salary yet. Yi Ren landed lightly on the shore. Tu Shanjui still couldn't recover from the shock. Always muttering, you can fly. Yi Ren shrugged, with his feet 20 centimeters off the ground, looking down at the shocked Tu Shanjui. Isn't that obvious? But why? You've heard, superhero. Tu Shanju shook his head with his mouth wide open. He didn't have any breath from Yi Ren. Also did not see the flying weapons of the pilot. He is flying in the flesh. By the way, salary. Tu Shanjui subconsciously touched his pocket, only to find that he had thrown his phone in the venue. He lowered his eyes. Sorry, I forgot. I'll give you the money when I get back. Yi Ren floated down and was about to speak. Suddenly his face froze strangely. Because Tu Shanjui's clothes were soaked in water, he saw some things that men shouldn't wear. Yi Ren instinctively opened the clairvoyance. The amplitude of the perspective is weakened, and the clear bone framework becomes nerve tissue and muscle tissue. Eventually it weakens to the point where it only penetrates clothing. Hiss. At this moment, Yi Ren knew why Tu Shanjui had a scent on her body. I also know why her skeleton is smaller than boys. I also know why she always makes people feel like a monster. Because, you're a girl, eh? Tu Shanjui's eyes widened suddenly. He hurriedly covered his chest and said that I am not. But Yi Ren saw it clearly. In this way, the two looked at each other for a long time, until the atmosphere became more and more weird. Tu Shanjui lowered his head. Okay, I'm a girl. Tu Shanjui's eyes were very sad. Those eyes flickered. In the Tu Shan family, it is divided into the direct line and the collateral line, and Tu Shanjui is the descendant of the collateral line. Her father was patriarchal. She is extremely eager to have a son, but the third child in a row is a girl. And Tu Shanjuyi is the third daughter. Her older sisters all died growing up. And Tu Shanjuyi's mother was also treated with cold eyes by her husband because she gave birth to 3 daughters in a row. At the same time, she heard her vitality when Tu Shanjui was born. Since then, he has been bedridden, and his body is getting worse day by day. My father, since my mother can no longer bear children, he no longer cares about us. That period of time was the darkest days for Tu Shanjui mother and daughter. Later, Tu Shanju showed his talent in singing and dancing. Her father used her as a cash cow. Using tricks to package her as a boy can be regarded as fulfilling his wish of 1 or 6 days. Father promised me that part of the money I earned would be used to treat my mother's illness, but Tu Shanjui's mother is dead, and died of illness. It shows that her father did not fulfill his promise at all, and even felt that the sick man was a burden. Deliberately let her wait to die. After her mother died, Tu Shanjui couldn't find the meaning of letting herself live. So I chose to jump into the river. I did all this for my mother. But now. Tu Shanjui couldn't stop crying while speaking. Yi Ren hesitated to speak. Want to comfort but don't know how to say it. In the end, he could only stay by her side silently. After a long time, Tu Shanjui wiped away his tears, his voice was hoarse. I secretly saved some money. I was planning to treat my mother and pay your wages. She expressed the hope that Yi Ren could wait for her to go back and give him the money. And Tu Shanjui told Yi Ren that she wanted Yi Ren to be her bodyguard. It was because she offended someone not long ago. The guy threatened her. He is the direct descendant of the Tu Shan clan, the one who will have the opportunity to inherit the position of patriarch in the future. Originally, Tu Shanjui was very scared. But now, she already felt that it didn't matter. Even thinking about it, it's no big deal, it doesn't matter if he kills him. I don't know what to say. But your mother doesn't want you to die like this. In her last days, she will definitely hope that you can live a better life. Yi Ren's comfort was slightly pale. But Tu Shanjui is all about this. Because in her short life, no one has cared for her except her mother. Yi Ren didn't release much tenderness. But lack makes her feel warm. Thanks. Death is just a moment, but life is still very long. Do you want to try again? Yi Ren held out his hand towards her. He wanted to give her a hand. Take a deep breath. Tu Shanjui nodded, grabbed Yi Ren's hand vigorously and got up from the ground. Do you want to go back to the concert? Is it still too late? Yi Ren didn't speak, but hugged Tu Shanjui with his backhand, and then let out a snort. Ah! Tu Shanjui could only feel the wind blowing past his face quickly. Her eyes opened a crack. Everything is flying backwards behind. Are we flying? The speed of flying far exceeds running, under the invisible biological force field. Wind pressure cannot cause damage to Tu Shanjui. Biological force field. This is Yi Ren's new skill. Superman can fly and can lift a falling plane, basically relying on this magical ability. Here we are. Tu Shanjui blinked his eyes, but hadn't carefully felt the fun of flying. This is already here. She also jumped out of Yi Ren's arms with some reluctance. After the concert is over. Can you still take me to fly again? Considering that she just lost her loving mother. Now the whole person is at the most vulnerable stage. Yi Ren nodded slightly. Good, thanks. Only then did Tu Shanjui show a forced smile. Tu Shanjui, where have you been? The concert is about to start. Brother Yajun, I'm going to change clothes. Next, it is the highlight moment belonging to Tu Shanjui. She is in the spotlight. Thousands of people cheered for her. People shouted, Master Tu Shan, Master Tu Shan. But they didn't know that under the appearance of being packaged as a boy, there was a soft and broken heart. When the concert lasted to the end, in the special auditorium, a puffy boy with egg yolk hair made an abnormal move. Without attracting anyone's attention, he made a strange gesture with his hands. Immediately afterwards, the lighting stand on the stage suddenly creaked. At the weakest bottom, the steel bars suddenly snapped. God, look over there. It's going to fall, it's going to fall. Exclamations sounded one after another. The light dome above the stage almost covers the entire stage. Along with the ear-piercing breaking sound, bang bang continued. The entire light dome fell down in an instant. People screamed. They didn't dare to watch Tu Shanjui on the stage. Because of the next moment, she would be smashed to pieces by the light dome. In the audience, the puffy yellow-haired boy showed a subtle smile of success. This is what happens when you disobey me, you idiot. He admired the horrified expression on Tu Shanjui's face. Looking forward to her death. However, a figure suddenly appeared on the stage, and the huge dome hit his back. Boom! Yi Ren holds the dome with both hands. There was a slightly surprised expression on his face. This thing, it's lighter than expected. Yay big brother. You can still call me Yi Ren, how is it, are you okay? Under the demented gaze of the audience, Yi Ren held the dome, walked to the side briskly, and threw the huge and wide dome to the ground. Boom! Looking at it like that, it's as easy as throwing away a building block. Just when people were shocked beyond measure, Yi Ren came under the light stand and reached out to touch the broken steel bar. They have all been tampered with in advance and are at the point of breaking at any time. Yi Ren suddenly turned to look at the auditorium. He pointed his eyes at the puffy yellow-haired boy, and Yi Ren instantly appeared in front of him with a whoosh sound. Your heartbeat is fast, your breathing is short, and your blood flow is nearly 10% faster than others. What are you nervous about? Gulu. The puffy yellow-haired man sat on the chair trembling slightly. Fear prevented him from breathing. It's you. At this time, Tu Shanjui also saw him. There was a complicated expression on his face. So, you did it, right? Yi Ren picked up the puffy yellow-haired boy's clothes, and he screamed quickly. Let go of me. Do you know who I am? I'm Tu Shanjui. I don't care who you are. Yi Ren is holding Tu Shanjui's collar. Pulling his head over, Yi Ren whispered in his ear. I give you a chance to live, you better learn to cherish it. After all, you can't hide in a safe house forever. Yi Ren let go of his hand. Tu Shanjui fell back to the chair with a pale face. The way he looked at Yi Ren. Extremely frightened. Swallowing, Tu Shanjui's head stiffly turned to Shen Shanjiang. From Tu Shanjui to the light dome that was thrown aside. He gets it. I can't afford Yi Ren. Because of an accident, the concert ended early, but the audience didn't complain. And Tu Shanjui found Tu Shan Yajun in the background. And said he didn't want to do it. Quote? I've had enough, that's all. Tu Shanjui became a celebrity only to earn money to treat her mother. Now the mother has passed away. She has no reason to continue, but Tu Shan Yajun is anxious. Wait a minute, you can't go. You signed a contract with us. Contract? Yi Ren walked over slowly, eyes drifting past Tu Shan Yajun. For something like a contract, someone has to execute it. If everyone is dead, what's the use of the contract? Tu Shan Yajun subconsciously took 2 steps back. The wave of Yi Ren's show tonight made him dare not speak loudly at all. Yeah, but that's not what I meant, she's from Tu Shan. Tu Shanjui pursed his lips. He clenched his fists but could do nothing. She is too weak alone, so insignificant compared with the whole Tu Shan family. Tu Shan, how about this, you go back and tell those who can speak. Tu Shanjui, I have nothing to do with you. If any one of them is dissatisfied, let them come to me. Yi Ren does not have a business card, but he believes that if the Tu Shan family is strong enough, you should be able to find your location easily. That's all. After speaking, Yi Ren snapped his fingers, and in front of Tu Shan Yajun, he hugged Tu Shan's 9 wings and flew into the sky. Quote? Tu Shan Yajun opened his mouth wide in a daze, looking at the starry night sky. Depend on. He can fly. The Tu Shan family is a big family. If Tu Shanjui can create wealth for them, they will naturally not give up easily. After Tu Shan Yajun repeated what Yi Ren said to his superior, the other party was furious. Is there any king's law? Is there any law? Especially after learning that Tu Shan Shui was also threatened by Yi Ren, Tu Shan put Yi Ren on the blacklist and dispatched 4 family warriors overnight, intending to teach Yi Ren a lesson. The moon is in the sky. Yi Ren carried Tu Shanjui around the river several times. She always makes wah-wah noises when she is excited. Long cream-colored hair flowed out. Yi Feng is cool. She took off her coat, showing her true side. Is it enough? Can you do it one more time, Big Brother Yi? I beg you to call me by my name. Yi Ren was helpless. He always felt that something was wrong, and he always felt sorry for the monitor. This is so strange. What are you going to do next? I want to go to school and continue singing and dancing on my own. Tu Shanjui, the unlucky kid, doesn't have much money. School fees are also required. After she broke with the Tu Shan family, there must be a lot of places to spend money. Oh, my salary, give it to me after you have money. I'll give you part of it first, and the rest I'll pay you in installments, is that okay? Yi Ren watched helplessly as the girl transferred half of her card to him. The squad leader wiped the sweat from his brow. After boxing practice, she was warm all over, and she was going to take a bath. It stands to reason, he should be back soon, right? Just finished. The squad leader heard a soft landing on the balcony. Quote? The squad leader glanced at the door suspiciously. He glanced at Yi Ren on the balcony even more suspiciously. How did you come back? Fly back. Yi Ren floated up 20 centimeters, causing a shocked expression to appear on the monitor's always calm face. She walked over in a daze. After confirming that Yi Ren is really after the flight, the squad leader is a little hard to accept. Are you? 5 paragraphs. Maybe. Yi Ren smiled cheerfully. At this moment, the squad leader's eyes suddenly became sharper, and she shrugged her nose slightly. On you, look at the scent of a woman. Yi Ren's smile froze. The monitor took 2 steps back and looked at him expressionlessly. Tell me, what's going on? Listen to my sophistry. Monitor, the thing is like this, my employer. Abba. After some sophistry, the squad leader reluctantly accepted it. She said blankly, so you saved another innocent girl who fell into the abyss and made her fall in love with you deeply, is that so? Totally not. The squad leader seemed a little upset. Yi Ren scratched his head for a long time and failed to coax her well. After taking a shower, the monitor was lying on the bed alone practicing chi control, while Yi Ren scratched his head anxiously. And so it went until midnight. Yi Ren climbed onto the bed carefully. Squad leader, I'm coming up. There was no response. Yi Ren bit the bullet and slipped in, gently hugging the monitor's willow waist. Very good. She didn't say no. Then the next thing is. Yi Ren's face suddenly became serious, and he lifted the quilt and flew out from the balcony in an instant. The monitor, who pretended to be asleep, opened his eyes. He looked worriedly at the balcony. What's up with him? Yi Ren heard the sound of breaking through the air, and it was obviously towards him. So he took the initiative to welcome them out. I saw 2 men and 2 women in the moonlight, men dressed in a slightly ancient style. They are stepping on the blade of the sword and flying in the air. It seems that Tu Shan directly dispatched 4 warriors of the 5th stage of Yuang to kill Yi Ren with the force of thunder. They were more ruthless than Yi Ren imagined, and they didn't intend to keep alive. As expected of a big family. It is true not to treat human life as human life. These 4 Tu Shan clan warriors. When he saw Yi Ren standing in the air, he also showed astonishment. Especially when seeing nothing under Yi Ren's feet. The faces of these people. It has completely changed. The power of the blood that walks in the air. As we all know, the power of bloodlines is inherited from the ancient beasts, and among the ancient beasts. Basically, those who can fly are the most fool ones. The 4 warriors of the Tu Shan clan looked at each other. 4 against 1, still stable. In an instant, they all started to fight in unison. A flying sword pierced Yi Ren from different angles at a speed of Mach 1. At the same time, 2 of them formed seals with their hands. The power to stimulate the blood. The art of fox mind. The Tu Shan clan inherited the power of the bloodline from the divine beast 9-tailed demon fox. If a boy is born, the power of blood is the art of fox mind, similar to mind power, it actually greatly strengthens the control and extension of qi. If a girl is born, the power of the bloodline is the art of seductiveness, born with the best appearance and figure, and proficient in hypnotic suggestion and other abilities. The art of fox thoughts is bound to Yi Ren's limbs. At the same time, the flying sword landed on Yi Ren's body, but it made a clanging sound. The pupils of the 4 Tu Shan clan warriors all shrank. Flying sword, unable to break the defense. A mortal body. How can? Could it be that the power of the opponent's blood not only gave him the ability to fly in the air, but also strengthened his body? Make it invulnerable. But what exactly is the power of the bloodline so powerful? With a little force from Yi Ren, the art of fox thoughts shattered, and they couldn't control themselves at all. At the same time, Yi Ren let out a whoosh. Appeared in front of one of them as if teleported. Quote! Quote. The man was shocked. Too fast. How could there be such a fast speed? He instinctively stabbed Yi Ren with a sword, but the moment the sharp blade touched Yi Ren's body. Clang! The force of the shock shattered the blade into sporadic pieces. Boom! The other 3 were terrified, because the moment the blade shattered, Yi Ren punched through the lower abdomen of the warrior in front of him. That's right. It is pierced. The entire right arm opened a hole in it in an instant. Almost cut in half. Before the other 3 could react, Yi Ren disappeared in place again. Frightened. Confusion. Ebao. Despair. Where did he go? You up. You up. Another punch. The martial artist fell towards the ground like a meteor falling to the ground, and fell directly into a puddle of meat. Just in the blink of an eye, 2 of the 4 Tushan warriors died. This is fighting. No, this is carnage. Wait. The remaining 2 female warriors completely lost their will to fight, and they couldn't even control the sword under their feet. Yi Ren was expressionless. Suddenly he turned sideways and raised his right hand. Bang! Good boy. Wrapping a stone with his right hand, he squeezed it lightly, and the stone became powder in the palm of his hand. It was thunder. He stepped on 2 short blades, also walking in the air. He was the one who threw the stone just now. As that, the sword bearer. The female warrior Tu Shan saw Jing Lei's handsome uniform and recognized his identity. They all begged him, ask Jing Lei to save their lives. The warriors of the Tu Shan clan. Tisk tisk tisk, let me tell you, what kind of conflict are you having with them? Yi Ren looked at Jing Lei. Shen Sheng said, they came to kill me, but I killed 2 of them instead. Do you want to protect them? I said, do me a favor and stop here. Yi Ren smiled. Who are you sending it to? Do you want me to save face? The smile on Jing Lei's face slowly disappeared, and he stared at Yi Ren. Next moment, Jing Lei suddenly disappeared from the spot. Right hand into a fist, targeting Yi Ren's profile. However, boom, Yi Ren caught it very easily, grabbing his fist almost without any hesitation. Jinglei's pupils shrank slightly. Are you keeping up with me? Obviously a few days ago, Yi Ren is still played by him like a mouse played by a cat. But now, he actually caught his own fist. You too, but that's all. With a little force from Yi Ren, Jinglei's right hand was crushed into a ball and suffered a comminuted fracture. Yi Ren could have taken advantage of this opportunity. He directly tore off Jinglei's right hand, but he didn't do that. Instead, let him go. These 4 people came to kill me, I hope you can stop meddling. You calm down. A cold sweat broke out from the thunder pain. He hadn't suffered such a serious injury for a long time. After all, at his speed, facing any enemy, it can crush it with speed. Jinglei didn't give up. It disappeared in an instant again, and in his vision, everything slowed down. He rushed to Yi Ren. However, a scene that frightened him happened. Yi Ren gave him a contemptuous smile. Quote? In the slow-motion world, Yi Ren raised his fist and threw it at the thunder. It seems completely unaffected. Shocked, Jinglei leaned back and hid. In embarrassment, he turned several times in the sky and flew several hundred meters before stabilizing his body. He was so horrified that he stuttered. Just a few days. Yi Ren already has the same speed as him. How is this possible? What is the power of your bloodline? Sigh. Yi Ren took the initiative to attack. Jinglei dodged in a hurry, and was overwhelmed by Yi Ren for a while. He is the sword bearer. It's the first time I'm so frustrated, so frightened. Because he can feel it. He couldn't bear every attack of Yi Ren. After all, under the blessing of such speed, the flesh and blood will be blasted into a puddle of flesh in an instant. So he could only try his best to dodge. Ah, that's enough. After dodging Yi Ren's fist again, Jinglei tried his best, and the death whip hit Yi Ren's head. The power of blood is pushed to the limit. This leg. Enough to open gold and crack stones. Sufficient. Enough to turn into a puddle of blood. Jinglei's calf has completely disappeared, revealing half of White's bone. The severe pain knocked him off balance. At the same time, he was unable to gather chi due to serious injuries, and he fell towards the ground. Faster and faster and faster. That moment, Jinglei had only one thought. It's over. He'd hit the ground hard and turn into a puddle of flesh. However, when it is about to land. But Yi Ren caught him. Jinglei was put on the ground with a pale face. He looked at Yi Ren with difficulty. What kind of monster are you? Have you heard, Superman? Boom. Yi Ren blinked. Then he grabbed 2 female warriors who had fled thousands of meters away with both hands. They ran away while Yi Ren was fighting with Jinglei Qian Wangchao. Pity. Although the flying speed of the controller is very fast. Can reach Mach 1. But compared to Yi Ren, that's still too far away. At this moment, the faces of the 2 female warriors were pale, and their eyes were full of despair. They thought they had escaped successfully. But who knows? In the blink of an eye, Yi Ren caught him back. Too powerful. So strong that they completely lost the confidence to resist. What bloodline do you have? Jinglei had to ask clearly. I am Li Ling, comparable to the speed of lightning. What are you? Yi Ren replied. Didn't I tell you, I'm Superman? The next moment Yi Ren disappeared from the spot, and an inconspicuous thin line across the sky. Jinglei opened his mouth wide in a daze. His comparable to lightning is an exaggeration, but Yi Ren's speed is an understatement. Mach 3, Mach 5, 10 Mach. What kind of concept is this? It only takes less than an hour to fly from Long Country to M Country. Yi Ren didn't intend to end like this. Tu Shan. Okay, since they want to start a war, let's fight. Yi Ren was afraid. Fly from City Y to Province H. At the terrifying speed of Mach 10, Yi Ren only took 5 minutes. Mach 1 is 1 times the speed of sound. Flying in normal air is about 340 meters per second. 10 times, that is 3,400 meters per second. While Yi Ren flew 3,400 meters in 1 second, he also used a biological force field to protect the 2 female fighters in his hands. Otherwise he could be faster. 5 minutes, there are 60 seconds in a minute. Yi Ren crossed 1,020,000 meters in 5 minutes and found the Tushan family in H province. All this is thanks to the 2 female warriors in his hands. They were terrified and said everything. The Tushan family is an ancient family that has existed for a long time. It is said that the old family broke through to the 7th stage of Tianji state 100 years ago. Today is the master of the Tushan clan. They are the son and daughter of the old patriarch, but the old patriarch's daughter is very mysterious, and the outside world knows little about her. But that son was incomparable. Using the huge network and resources of the Tushan family, many group companies have been established. His name is Tu Shan Yike, and he can often be seen on TV. Tonight, Tu Shan Yike received news from his subordinates. Tushan Jui, which was funded and packaged by the family, announced a break with the family and has never had anything to do with it again. In Tu Shan Yike's view, Tu Shan Jui's value is more than that, she can still be squeezed. So he was naturally not happy with Tu Shan Jui's behavior. Is someone protecting her? Ridiculous. Tu Shan Yike easily found the news about Yi Ren, and after a casual glance, he couldn't help but sneer. An orphan. Although Guan Tian's talent is not bad, he actually achieved a miracle of 400 points in the college entrance examination. Pity. He probably drifted away, and actually opposed Tu Shan's. Come here, Uaa. After Tu Shanike sent 4 of his men to kill Yi Ren. So he stayed in the Linggu mansion bought by his family. This is where he usually works. This nearly 100-story building is all owned by the Tu Shan family. He's at the top, lying on a soft chair, sipping red wine gracefully. A suit looks a bit scattered. And he's not far away. It was the little secretary who had just taken a shower and was wearing a uniform of black silk. Boss, you don't come home so late, and instead you do this kind of thing here with me. Your wife won't be angry if she knows. Hey, that yellow-faced woman is not as cute as you. Come here and let me take a good look at you. A cry of coquettishness. The little secretary moved her black silk legs and was about to ride on her boss. But suddenly, clang, the reinforced French windows suddenly shattered. A large number of debris splashed out, and Tu Shanike didn't react slowly, and floated 6 or 7 meters away with his arms around the little secretary. A piece of broken glass bounced a few times and stopped at his feet. Tu Shanike turned his head and looked out the window. In the dark night, a round of bright moon hangs above the sky. And there was a backlit figure floating in the air. He just threw it away. The 2 dying female warriors were rowed in front of Shen Shani like garbage. Zanyu, desire. Tu Shan Yike's pupils shrank slightly, and he made an unbelievable sound. He raised his head slowly. I only saw the figure but couldn't see the face clearly, but the shadow on the face brought a sense of oppression of choosing someone to eat. He is flying. No weapons underfoot. There is no translucent cyclone surrounding the body. At this moment, Tu Shan Yike realized that things might not be that simple. He raised his hand abruptly. The art of fox thought. At the same time, 6 fuzzy phantoms that surpassed the speed of sound swept out from behind him. They slashed at Yi Ren together. But with the sound of the crisp iron clanging, the 6 vague shadows were bounced away. Tu Shan Yike's face also changed. This is impossible. How can a body of flesh and blood resist his own reincarnation dart? For each round of boomerang, he spent millions of dollars and used the world's top forging technology. Mixed several hard substances, finally refined and reshaped into the immortal alloy, which is known as the toughest alloy in the world. Just shaping these alloys into round boomerangs. CIFH took almost 3 years. This is his trump card for Tu Shan Yike, and it is also the only way for him to instantly kill him. Hey, it's you who wants to kill me, right? Yi Ren didn't land. Instead, it floated towards Tu Shan Yike, who retreated abruptly. But as soon as he made a move, he felt a flash in front of his eyes, and Yi Ren appeared in front of him the next moment. Too fast. It has completely exceeded his reaction limit. Yi Ren picked up Tu Shan Yike's neck with one hand, and appeared above the clouds with a whoosh. Too fast. So much so that in Tu Shan Yike's understanding, it became teleportation. I'll give you a chance. Giggle. Yi Ren's indifferent voice made Tu Shan Yike's heart beat wildly. He pushes hard, almost desperately trying to break free from Yi Ren's grasp. But Yi Ren's hand locked him tightly like iron tongs, no matter how hard he tried. His fingers didn't budge either. From now on, you can no longer interfere in any decision of Shen Shan Ju Suan. If you play dirty, I will kill you. Yi Ren doesn't like to kill people, and today he has killed two, and it feels very nice. He has been suppressing himself, because Yi Ren clearly knows that if he is addicted to killing, then you might turn into a monster yourself. A monster that no one can stop, has no bottom line and is invincible. I don't like being a monster, don't destroy me as a human being. The bottom line. Tu Shan Yike was still struggling. He can feel that there is nothing under his feet. At this height, he only needs the opponent to let go. He can land freely from a height of 100 floors and more than 500 meters in the air. Then it turned into a pool of minced meat that no one could see. But the round boomerangs that had been bounced off before trembled, and they were summoned under the traction of chi. One of them came straight for Yi Ren's forehead. The design of the revolving dart also took a lot of effort. It has a perfect aerodynamic shape structure. It can fly at speeds up to Mach 3. However, boom. The extremely fast round boomerang was caught in his hand. Tu Shanike was so startled that he even forgot to struggle. His pupils widened in disbelief. The person in front of him caught the flying boomerang with his bare hands. What made him even more unacceptable was the back. In front of him, Yi Ren crushed the round boomerang made of immortal alloy into a lump. So far, Yi Ren raised Tu Shan Yike with one hand. Taking advantage of the moonlight at this time, Tu Shanike finally saw Yi Ren's face clearly. Such a green, such a young face. He's not even 20, is he? It's just that there is a restrained killing intent on this young face. Remember what I said, otherwise I want to kill you, and you won't be able to hide on the moon. Plop. Tu Shan Yike was thrown back, he propped himself up in embarrassment, and he raised his head. Yi Ren in the sky looked down at him expressionlessly. What is a sense of oppression? This is called oppression. Clang. Yi Ren threw the immortal alloy that was kneaded into cakes in his hand and threw it in front of Tu Shan Yike. Then soar into the sky. In the blink of an eye, it disappears into the skyline. Tu Shan Yike sat on the ground for more than 2 minutes before slowing down a little. His face was expressionless, seemingly calm on the surface, but in fact he was terrified inside. You could tell by his trembling hands. He wanted to drink some red wine to calm his shock, but his trembling hand knocked over the glass. White's shirt was stained red by wine. Is he really human? Tu Shanike grabbed the completely deformed reincarnated dart, his slightly trembling eyes flickered. Round darts. His ultimate whole card allows him to easily kill the whole card of the 6th level Heaven Power Realm in the 5th level Yuang Realm. It was so vulnerable to that young man. His flesh. Harder than immortal alloy. And his speed. Since warriors have reached the 5th level Yuang control state, they can fly with control. The speed limit is Mach 1. With the improvement of strength, after the warrior reaches the 6th stage, the chi will cover the whole body. Can barely reach Mach 3. At this speed, the fighter pilot can even catch up with top fighter jets. But that speed. How fast? Tu Shanike stared at the direction Yi Ren flew away, but it was 1,000 meters away in the blink of an eye. Unrivaled physicality. Exaggerated to incredible speed. He can still fly. Is he really human? Tu Shan Yike breathed out. Suddenly he relaxed, and threw samsara aside. I'm alive. This is the best news. Originally, the boy could have easily killed himself, but he was still alive. He yelled, but no one responded, and the group found that the little secretary was full as early as the beginning. Human nature. Tu Shanike used his landline to send a message to the following. From today, the Tu Shan family will devote all their resources to support Tu Shan Jui, remember my words. What she asks, we give, whatever she asks for. After hanging up the phone, Tu Shan Yike lit a cigarette and smoked it relaxedly. He hadn't been this relaxed in a long time. Call. Breathing out a smoke ring, Tu Shan Yike grinned and smiled, since inheriting the family business. His spirit is always tense. But now, after jumping on the horizontal line between life and death, he suddenly became open-minded. It's good to be alive, hee. Tu Shan Yike is actually a talented player with a business mind. Investing is something every businessman likes to do. He saw the value of Tu Shan Jui. Not as a star. It was because there was an inhuman monster willing to come and threaten him for her. Yi Ren, a non-human in human skin, such an existence must be friends. If you take 10,000 steps back, you cannot be friends, and you must not be enemies. Tu Shan Yike spit out another smoke ring. I really don't feel safe. If there is such a monster in this world. If he wants to. Perhaps, as he said, even if he fled to the moon, he would fly over. Then easily crush your own head. After all, my brain is not as hard as a mortal alloy. Yi Ren slowed down in the sky. It's beautiful. Above the clouds, the moon looks so big, so round, so bright. This is an extremely rare beauty for common people. Since the last squad leader nuclear explosion, Yi Ren has gradually mastered the biological force field. That is the ability to fly. Strange to say, ever since he was able to fly, Yi Wei found that his fear of heights has healed without medicine. Woohoo! Yi Ren shuttled through the clouds. What do clouds taste like? Yi Ren licked it. ... At this moment, a text message came from Yi Ren's mobile phone, and it was the squad leader asking him what happened. Yi Ren told her not to worry, and she would go back right away. Just about to put down the phone. Another text message came. It was a remittance message. Who pays me? It turned out to be Tu Shanjui, she called unexcitedly. Says I don't know why. All of a sudden, the family gave her all the money she earned from performing before. It's tens of millions. So she immediately supplemented Yi Ren's salary. Is that too much? Yi Ren had a strange look on his face. The girl actually remitted more than 1 million yuan to herself. Can you take me to fly next time? I can give you money, anyway. I don't need that much. Talk later. Yi Ren suddenly looked to the southeast. A huge Boeing airliner is passing through the clouds and flying on the established route. Coincidentally, this is a passenger plane flying from Province H to City Y. It takes 2 or 3 hours to fly. Yi Ren only needs 5 minutes. Yi Ren became playful for a while, and followed the side of the passenger plane, maintaining the same speed. There were not many passengers on the plane. Now it's the middle of the night, and I'm basically sleeping. But by coincidence, a young mother took the child, and the little boy woke up at this time. He rubbed his eyes and leaned against the window. Quote. The little boy saw Yi Ren outside and waved to him. Although the little boy is only in the 4th and 5th grades. But he also knew that on the plane, no one should be right outside. Mom, look, Mom, there's a big brother outside. Don't make trouble, Mom is going to sleep. The young mother opened her eyes impatiently. Yi Ren has disappeared by the window. The squad leader hadn't slept since Yi Ren left. She sat on the head of the bed worriedly. The eyes always occasionally glance in the direction of the door. Woo! There was a sound of breaking through the air, and Yi Ren fell back to the balcony lightly. He saw the worried eyes of the squad leader at a glance. Don't worry, I just went to deal with a little thing. It's fine. The squad leader relaxed a little. This night, they hugged each other and fell asleep, and in a daze, the squad leader remembered that Yi Ren had said a lot to her. She held him tight, as if he was afraid that if he let go, he would fly away again. The next day, the two came to the airport again. This time, I finally boarded the plane without accident. In other words, I can fly you directly to the capital, and it will be fine in a few minutes. I want to fly with you, so I can stay longer. Coincidentally, Yi Ren also met Tu Shanjui on the plane. Her cream-colored mid-length hair hung loose, and a large bow was tied behind her head for decoration. Cute dress for a girly look. With white silk, leg rings and small high heels. This kind of dress combined with Tu Shanjui's small face really deserves to be a big star. What's more, she was sitting right in front of Yi Ren. What a coincidence, Yi big brother. Yi big brother. The ice beauty Hu Dao, who was unmoved on the surface, suddenly became sharper in her eyes. Hello, this is my girlfriend. Yi Ren quickly introduced the squad leader. Hello, sister. But looking at Tu Shanjui's normal appearance, there seems to be nothing wrong. Only then did Yi Ren breathe a sigh of relief. Both the squad leader and Tu Shanjui were first-class beauties who attracted the attention of many men on the plane. The squad leader is okay, after all, someone is sitting next to him. Tu Shanjui was out of luck. From time to time, some more confident guys came to strike up a conversation with an iron face. And Tu Shanjui itself has a relatively soft temperament. Not very good at rejecting others. Fortunately, after the plane took off, people could not walk around so that she could breathe. There was also a boy sitting beside Tu Shanjui. With a nervous, 540, look on his face, he pretended to wear a headset to cover up his emotions. However, his eyes would still drift to Tu Shanjui from time to time. He finally couldn't help striking up a conversation. It's a pity that the result is not different from others. And Tu Shanjui also frowned after rejecting these people, and seemed to be thinking deeply at this moment. After the first hour has passed, the monitor yawned boredly, and she whispered to Yi Ren's ear. Flying is boring. Didn't you say you want to experience what it's like to fly? At the beginning, the squad leader was still very novel. During the takeoff stage, she held Yi Ren's hand tightly. His big eyes stared out of the window flickeringly. The plane flew higher and higher, and when it passed through the clouds, the squad leader's eyes seemed to be shining. But if you watch too much, that's it. Why don't you sleep on my shoulder for a while, and I'll call you when you get there? Don't want. The squad leader grabbed Yi Ren's hand and interlocked his fingers. A serious expression appeared on that cold little face. I want to watch you. What's so nice about me? Yi Ren didn't quite understand it, but the squad leader's serious and cute little expression. It still made him want to reach out and rua on her little head. It feels really good. You messed up your hair. Hey. The squad leader also doesn't understand why Yi Ren always likes Rua himself, but since he likes it, and went with him. These small gestures of intimacy made some teenagers nearby show envious eyes. Take Yi Ren's hearing. He could hear slight sighs from the men. At this time, an old man with a slightly ugly face unbuckled his seatbelt and was moving towards the toilet. But after walking 2 steps, he suddenly fell down clutching his chest. This can startle the people around. At this time, a red-haired girl knelt beside the old man and called out nervously. Stewardess, my father passed out. What? Someone hurt in there? The stewardesses hurried over. The old man clutched his chest with a painful look on his face, and soon fell into a coma. At this time, the plane was above the altitude of 10,000 meters. And it happened to fly to the center of the route, and there was a certain distance between the end point and the starting point. Excuse me, is there any doctor among the passengers? The stewardess called for help over the radio. Passengers, you look at me, I look at yours, too. How can there be such a coincidence? The red-haired woman grew paler. Tears welled up in my eyes. At this time, Tu Shanjui hesitated for a moment, and reluctantly stood up. I know a little bit about medicine. It turned out that Tu Shanjui was because of his mother's illness. Self-taught medicine for a period of time. But this is not a real medical skill at all, but now that no one can stand up, she had to take a risk and try it. I will probe into the old man's body with chi to see what's wrong. Use gas. The red-haired woman is also a second-stage warrior. Her face changed slightly. If Tu Shanjui couldn't do one operation, it would directly hurt the old man's internal organs. Send it back to the west directly. Yes. The stakes are high, but this is the only one. The red-haired woman was also in hesitation at the moment. But there is a saying that a dead horse is treated as a living horse doctor. If nothing is done, her father will only die faster. Call. Tu Shanju carefully placed his hands on the old man's body. The weak chi penetrated into the old man's body. At this time the plane suddenly bumped. Tu Shanjui was so scared that he quickly recovered his chi, which required a lot of precision. Any misstep can have devastating consequences. The plane, shaking like this, I can't continue. At this time, Yi Ren whispered something in the monitor's ear, and then walked towards the unconscious old man. Please step aside, please. He pushes away from the crowd. A bold idea popped up in my mind. The reason why I didn't stand up for the first time just now is because Yi Ren is not sure. But now, excuse me, old man, have you suffered from thrombosis before? Yes. The red-haired woman grabbed Yi Ren by the corner of his clothes as if grabbing a savior. Yi Ren nodded. As expected, the perspective allowed him to see a shadow in the old man's body, which was a blocked thrombus. Although I know, But it is not so easy to solve it. Let's try it. Yi Ren pointed at the position of the old man's blood clot, and a faint gold cyclone penetrated his body. He hardly needs to manipulate it. The gold cyclone actively dispelled the clogged thrombus, and circled around the old man's blood vessels. Finally it gradually dilutes and dissipates. Ah! The old man's expression relaxed, and he opened his eyes within a few breaths. Wake up, he's awake. Dad, you scared me to death, woohoo. Under the attention of the people looking at the hero, Yi Ren calmly returned to his seat. At this time Yi Ren saw the strangers on the opposite side. Thumbs up to him. Yi big brother, you are amazing, how did you know he has a blood clot? Tu Shanjui saw that he was all right, so he also followed him back. She blinked curiously. See, Yi Ren smiled mysteriously. The red-haired woman bowed several times to Yi Ren to thank him after helping the old man back to his seat. She knew if it wasn't for Yi Ren, today her father is probably going to die on this flight. It just happens to be helpful. If it's another disease, I can't do anything. Yi Ren replied in this way. Soon, when the plane landed, Yi Ren took the monitor's hand and walked out of the passage. Goodbye, Yi big brother, goodbye, Sister Dao. Goodbye, be careful on the road. The airport is very big. The two people who took the plane for the first time kept following the flow of people. It took more than 10 minutes to find the exit. This is the capital. The squad leader looked at the scenery outside. His beautiful big eyes were full of curiosity. So, should I go directly to Qinglong Academy next? Let's go. Qinglong College started enrolling students as early as yesterday, after Yi Ren and the others arrived. Still can't help feeling shocked. This is a city within a city, right? So big. The area occupied by Qinglong Academy is even more exaggerated than the squad leader imagined. There are warriors flying around everywhere. Most of them looked hurried. We have to report first and get your acceptance letter. It should be. With the class monitor's appearance, if she appeared here alone, there will definitely be countless old students leading the way for her. But now she has Yi Ren standing beside her. It should be over there. No, here, follow me. With clairvoyance, supervision and super hearing, Yi Ren found the right place easily. After submitting a series of proofs, the two officially became students of Qinglong Academy. No accommodation will be provided tonight. We will gather at Shengwu Plaza at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning for the classification ceremony. It turns out that Qinglong College will divide the new students into classes according to their talents. Qualification Common will be assigned to the common class. And talented, they will enter key classes and have completely different resource training from common classes. What's the matter? It looks like you don't have much energy. The squad leader suddenly asked softly. When talking, she tilted her head slightly, so cute. Yi Ren couldn't help but rua on her head on the spot. Then he showed a helpless smile. No, just the feeling, it's different from what I imagined. Yi Ren looked around. If you want to, then within a few minutes, Qinglong Academy, which is comparable to the size of a city, will be demolished into ruins by itself. Forget it, I'll just come to accompany you to school. The squad leader couldn't quite understand Yi Ren's feelings. She thought it was Yi Ren who was nervous, so she comforted her softly. It's okay, I believe you can enter the key class, you are great. Ha ha. When Yi Ren shook his head and smiled wryly, he suddenly saw a familiar guy. Isn't that Thunder? He was following a stern-faced little loli. Yi Ren's super hearing allows him to clearly hear what Jinglei is saying. Oh my little ancestor, don't be angry, I beg you, can you? If you don't make it clear, I won't talk to you. Jinglei scratches his head. Sunshine Wuchen. This involves confidentiality. I am the sword bearer, and there are some things I cannot tell you. But you have suffered such a serious injury, why don't you allow me to care about you? Little Lolita's eyes suddenly turned red, biting the lower lip. You know that night, I got a phone call out of the blue, and they told me you almost died, and you know how sad I was. Oh, Jinglei smiled wryly, as if he felt Yi Ren's gaze. He looked over casually, and then his expression froze. Belle, get behind me. Jinglei instinctively protected little Lolita behind her, and looked at Yi as if facing a formidable enemy. Every muscle in his body tensed. However, Yi Ren just glanced at him, and then disappeared from the crowd with the squad leader. Call. Only then did Jinglei relax, and wipe the cold sweat off his brow. Hell, he has been a swordsman for a year, and this is the first time he has been scared like this by others. Who did you just see? Little Lolita also noticed something was wrong with Jinglei. I saw, the man who nearly broke me down. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. The little Loli's pupils shrank. She was just about to say something, but Jinglei hugged her up. He is not my enemy, otherwise I would be dead. Speaking of which, I was blamed last time for meddling, otherwise. You, let me go. Everyone around looked at Jinglei and little Lolita. Each one's eyes became strange. You promise me not to be angry, and I will let you down. You hate it, comma. At the strong request of the squad leader, she and Yi Ren found a martial arts gym for preparatory training. The squad leader should show his best state to deal with tomorrow's classification ceremony. Since we are here, we must go to the best. She wants to successfully break through the 4th stage before tonight and reach Kaiyang's military control state. Come down these days. The gold cyclone that Yi Ren left in her body has been consumed a lot. That violent energy once again revealed its majesty. However, unlike in the past, under the suppression of the gold cyclone, the squad leader has the time to reorganize and control it. Call. In the past, she just used inhibitors and emotions to suppress energy. But now, she wants to take the initiative to control. After the squad leader's cyclone came into contact with the violent energy, it was swallowed instantly. But she wasn't discouraged. After repeated attempts, she finally showed joy. It works. Violent energy is released under the traction of qi, although there is only a trace. But when it was covered on the weapon was dyed with a faint golden light. Although the squad leader did not fully meet the standard of the 4th stage of Kaiyang's military control. But releasing the golden on weapon greatly enhanced the lethality. I can also have the power to protect Yi Ren. The squad leader sees hope. Practice harder. And what about Yi Ren? He yawned, looking uninterestedly at the heavy weapons that the warriors were wielding with difficulty. The thunderbolt hammer weighs 1 ton. Mountain cutting axe, weighing 1.5 tons. The Qinglong Yanyu knife can weigh up to 3 tons including the stick and the blade. The heavier the weapon, the more energy it takes to control it. Generally speaking, no warrior would deliberately choose such a heavy weapon. But these things are very good for training. Quote dash question mark quote. Yi Ren swung a hammer up and down in each of his left and right hands. The weight is barely felt. He doesn't even know how strong he is now. The last time the squad leader blew himself up, let Yi Ren experience the sunbathing up close. Yi Ren glanced at it. A martial artist with no eyesight cheerfully ran to the squad leader to strike up a conversation. He said that he is an experienced 4-level warrior. You can guide the squad leader to complete the technique of controlling soldiers with air. The squad leader was expressionless. Yi Ren came over and handed him the thunderbolt hammer, and the warrior subconsciously raised his hand to catch it. Boom! The terrifying weight seemed to shake the entire martial arts hall. People looked over in bewilderment. All I saw was that person leaning on his waist in embarrassment, surrounded by the thundering hammer in a daze. Don't throw this kind of thing around. What if you hit someone? Yi Ren handed over the hammer in the other hand. This time he dared not take it. Then, under people's jaw-dropping gazes, Yi Ren easily picked up the hammer on the ground. Put it back on the side of the weapon rack. The appearance of lifting weights lightly made the eyes of the younger sisters in the martial arts hall shine. Whispered about how many martial artists he is. And the martial artist who came to strike up a conversation with the squad leader had a pale face and left the martial arts hall in a despondent manner. Isn't it sinking? The squad leader showed a slightly surprised look. It's okay. I can fly. Why are you surprised? 2. The squad leader feels that Yi Ren has a lot of secrets. But she doesn't care. After all, she knows the existence of blood power and abilities. I thought Yi Ren's specialness was due to his abilities or the power of his blood. The squad leader just wants to grow up quickly. Like that. Then she can protect Yi Ren. Into the night. The squad leader went to bed early in order to recharge his energy, while Yi Ren stood on the balcony of the hotel. Staring at the starry sky in a daze. Want to take a look? He glanced back at the bed. The squad leader had fallen asleep, sleeping very sweetly. That is, why don't you just go and have a look? Yi Ren's little heart beat faster, and he rushed up to the sky without a sound. Boom. When a certain limit is reached, his speed increased again, and even at night, a circle of obvious sonic boom clouds erupted. Under the action of biological force field, the surface of Yi Ren's body is not frozen, he is still faster, faster. Until he looked down. What you see is the obvious arc-shaped earth, and the surroundings become a black starry sky. Quote, it feels weird to not be able to breathe. This made Yi Ren obviously uncomfortable. Wait a minute, is that a satellite? Yi Ren blinked his eyes, but he didn't know that at the aerospace headquarters of Country M, they had already exploded. Satellites have captured images of humanoids beyond Earth's lanes. The next moment, the signal was interrupted. The image transmitted was very clear, it was the face of an Asian. The aerospace headquarters is busier than New Year's Eve. It was daytime for them, and the president's phone was almost blown up by people from the space agency. In the universe, Yi Ren was lost in thought with the satellite fragments in his hand. I just got so excited that I couldn't help tearing it down. But looking at the shape of the flag above, it belongs to Country M anyway, so it doesn't matter if it is removed. The first rays of sunlight in the morning. It spilled on the monitor's face through the window. Her long eyelashes trembled, and then her moist eyes opened. What caught my eye was Yi Ren on the side. When did you come back, Degree? Just now. Yi Ren was going to pretend that he was still soundly asleep, but the squad leader poked him right away. It's so late, where did you go? I went full circle in the sky. The squad leader thought Yi Ren was just bored and went out to fly. Little did they know that Yi Ren was sunbathing outside in the sun. The sun has a strong gravitational pull. Yi Ren almost played himself in yesterday. In the end, it took a lot of effort to escape from the gravitational range. I bought you breakfast, Yi Ren said, looking at the sun hanging in the sky. Almost died though, but basking in the sun in the universe is much more refreshing than basking in the sun on the earth. No weakening of the atmosphere. The sun shines directly on the surface of Yi Ren's body. If the previous squad leader's nuclear explosion was to pour a large barrel of oil into Yi Ren's body. Then last night, Yi Ren held the same big oil barrel and poured tons of oil all night. That feeling of fullness in the body. It made Yi Ren wonder how strong he is now. At least it used to require Shinran's assistance to use frozen breath. Now he can easily freeze entire lakes. I am in this world. Am I already invincible? Yi Ren couldn't help but have such thoughts. He was a little excited. Because if there is no kryptonite, then in this world, is there really anything that can hurt oneself? What time is it? We have to go to the class placement ceremony. It's early, it's only 6:50. The squad leader's face froze. But the class placement ceremony starts at 7 o'clock. Just kidding, it's still very early. Besides, with me here, it won't be too late. Qinglong Academy is full of new students. Yi Ren and the squad leader will attend the ceremony in different areas. The squad leader lightly packed the corner of Yi Ren's mouth with some reluctance. Because there were so many people around her, a blush rose on her little face. Come on, waiting for your good news. Yi Renrua gave the class monitor a small head and watched her squeeze into the crowd. And Yi Ren himself is bathed in the envious eyes of those around him. Went to another area. Because everyone is a freshman, and those who can come to Qinglong College are all young geniuses in their respective places. If it weren't for the teacher to control the place above, it is estimated that these young people will fight at any time. Soon, the teacher read out a small group of names. These people are all handsome and have money from their families. This society is like this. How can there be absolute fairness? Net worth is also a kind of strength. It's all quiet. The noise stopped abruptly, and the teacher's sharp eyes swept over everyone. Are there any warriors of the fourth stage? Stand up. 4 paragraphs. Yi Ren pondered for a moment and stood up. Not only him, but nearly 100 people jumped out of the team, and greeted the envious eyes of the rest. Every time the 4 colleges enroll students, only a maximum of 4,000 people will be accepted. So it was divided into 4 regions, each with 1,000 people. And in the area of thousands of people where Yi Ren is located, there are actually 97 fighters who have reached the level 4 Kaiyang control of soldiers. Quote. That's right, you should all be under 20, right? Have you reached the 4th stage? The teacher showed admiration. Several of the students hesitated for a moment, and raised their hands to indicate that they were over 20 years old. Just repeated a few years. Well, I see, then you guys stand back first. True genius. Only before the age of 20 can one reach the level of a 4th-tier martial artist. The teacher continued. Just in case, let me ask again, among you, is there anyone who is not yet 20, but has reached the 5th stage of the Yuang weapon control realm? Among the 90 or so young geniuses, more than 20 people stood up. Among them Yiren was also in the queue. Very well, you are the focus. The freshmen of the other 3 sections will be assigned to the common class. But it is not absolute. Listen everyone, you can challenge good people in these key classes as you like. If you win, you can replace each other and enter the key class. As soon as the words came out, the eyes of the freshmen became eager. At this time, Yiren suddenly heard an exclamation from a distance. Sister Walnut, good guy. It turned out that the monitor and Chinran were in the same area. It happened by chance. Chinran's beautiful eyes widened. Then his eyes moved to Yiren's side, covering his mouth with a look of surprise. Yiren waved at her. At this time, some freshmen have already challenged the contestants in the key class. For example, the monitor and Chinran. They have all broken through to the 4th stage of Kaiyang control soldiers. But one has the power of nuclear fusion in his body, and the other has the power of Kunpeng's blood. Even if it was a leapfrog challenge, he easily won the victory. At this time, a young man with green hair pointed his finger at the Yiren dragon. Your position belongs to me. Well, Yiren looked at the young man in front of him with disinterest. It doesn't make sense at all. Although this young man is only at the 4th stage, he also has the power of blood, no wonder he is so swollen. Green hair fluttering. His movement became complicated and confusing, and the surrounding air humidity became extremely high. Then, snapped. The green-haired boy flew out in a circle. When it landed on the ground, it closed its eyes peacefully, sleeping like a baby. Yiren looked at the teacher helplessly. Can this meaningless challenge be eliminated? The teacher was stunned. The moment Yiren shot, even he couldn't see it clearly, but this blow instantly killed the 4th-tier martial artist with the power of blood. It really surprised the teachers. But rules are rules, they have the power to challenge you. It's so troublesome. Who else wants to challenge me? Let's go together. Saying that, Yiren flew up, 4 or 5 meters above the ground. He frowned slightly, his eyes swept down with a sense of oppression. Some freshmen who also planned to challenge Yiren. After seeing that he could actually fly through the air, they all gave up the idea with a slight change of face. Soon, the list of key classes has been finalized. But Yiren found that he was not in the same class as the monitor, but was in the same class as Chinran. He was dissatisfied and found the class teacher's theory. But where does the teacher care about this? Impatiently wants to drive Yiren away. At this time, Thunder happened to pass by. Hearing the quarrel between Yiren and the teacher, he was startled, and quickly flashed over to ask what happened. Mr. Thunder. The division teacher immediately smiled when he saw Jinglei, and his attitude became respectful. He said that it was just a freshman looking for work. Unexpectedly, Jinglei's expression completely changed. You said the student who was looking for trouble couldn't be him. Seeing that Yiren was frowning, looking unhappy, Jinglei quickly made a statement. What is looking for trouble? How did you become a teacher? Shouldn't you solve the students' problems? The teacher was dumbfounded, but after seeing Jinglei's reserved attitude towards Yiren, seems to understand something. He hastily revised the class list, and according to Yiren's request, he also let the class leader come over. After solving this incident, Jinglei breathed a sigh of relief, and left a phone call to Yiren, saying that he could call him if there was any problem. I beat you so hard last time. Why do you still help me? Because I want to invite you to join the Sword Bearer. It stands to reason. To join the official organization of Sword Bearer, one needs to be extremely talented and powerful, CIFG. And to ensure good conduct. Usually only after graduating from the 4 colleges, after some assessments and internships. Finally, it is possible to join this organization. This is the dream of countless geniuses. But now, Jinglei actually took the initiative to invite Yi Ren, and said that as long as he nodded. Special talents, special treatment. To this, Yi Ren declined without interest. Jinglei smiled wryly. The so-called geniuses are all arrogant and disobedient to discipline, even if it is the organization of the sword bearer. There are some real geniuses who are also looked down upon. But, Yi Ren still said, if you have something that you can't solve, you can ask me for help, of course, you will have to pay. Jinglei solemnly wrote it down. He said he would tell his boss later. But don't you really think about it? Joining the sword bearer will have a lot of benefits. Let's not talk about 5 insurances and 1 housing fund. As long as there is the identity of the sword bearer. Then in Dragon Kingdom, almost has the highest authority during the mission. However, I'm used to being wild, I don't know what organization to join. He didn't even give Jinglei a chance to react. With a whiff, it disappeared in place. Looking at the empty eyes, Jinglei couldn't help but smiled wryly. This time, I can't keep up with his speed at all. The speed of this progress. It is a bit too exaggerated. On Chinren's side, she happily took the monitor's arm and chatted with her actively. The monitor will briefly answer her questions. What, Sister Hutao, you're fine, why didn't you tell me? Yi Ren did the same, didn't tell me. Feel sorry. Oh, it's all Yi Ren's fault, Sister Walnut. Chinren stared at her beautiful eyes. After he finished speaking, he realized that Yi Ren was standing behind him. It's a little embarrassing to feel bad about being heard in front of someone. It's almost lunchtime after the class is divided. The arrangement of the college is to gather in the classroom in the afternoon, receive the corresponding resources and determine the dormitory. Come on, let's go eat. There are many restaurants in Qinglong Academy, and all of them employ top chefs. There is no canteen here. Consumption levels range from common to luxury. To celebrate that Sister Walnut is still alive, I am treating you, Elbow, let's go eat delicious food. Chinren held the monitor's arm, but his eyes drifted to Yi Ren behind him from time to time. As the saying goes, confidant is a disaster, a confidant is a disaster. The beauty of Chinren and the squad leader can always arouse the jealousy of confident teenagers. The 3 of them just sat down in the restaurant. Then there are guys who don't have long eyes come to strike up a conversation. After all, those who can enter Qinglong Academy are basically talented guys, and most of them are from well-to-do families. Such a group of young masters who have been pampered since childhood. All of a sudden, they gathered together, and their tempers became bigger and bigger. Tisk. After Chinren clearly refused, the little Huang Mao who came to strike up a conversation still refused to leave with a playful smile. How can Yi Ren hold back his short temper? You don't have ears, do you? Bang. At the moment when Xiao Wangmao couldn't react at all, Yi Ren grabbed his ear and slammed it on the table. There is a small hole in the stainless steel table. This sudden riot, it startled the crowd watching the theater, and more than that, Yi Ren ignored the little yellow hare's screams. Holding him with one hand, he slowly floated into the air. The little yellow hare was struggling in his hands, with half of its head frantically rubbing blood. Pain, asphyxia, dizzy, leave far away. Xiao Wangmao's face was blue and purple, and he looked like he would die from lack of oxygen at any time. Yi Ren let go of his hand and threw him out like throwing garbage. The strength is not great, but the little yellow-haired man seemed to have more air intake and less air output. His skull was shattered and his head dented. Lying on the ground, he kept convulsing, and the medical staff rushed by Zunsheng hurriedly carried him to the campus hospital for emergency treatment. Certainly, as a martial artist of the 3rd and 4th ranks. Moreover, he received immediate medical treatment. There is a high probability that he will not die, but this heavy injury will make him have a long memory. Yi Ren was floating in the air. Looking around, the other people in the restaurant subconsciously looked away. Avoid meeting his oppressive eyes. Didn't scare you. Yi Ren flew back to the monitor, showing a bright smile like a big boy. The squad leader didn't have any expression on his face, but Chinren blinked her big eyes, which seemed a little scared. Chapter 111. Well, in Chinren's impression, although Yi Ren always disliked him, he looked quite aloof. But he had never been so violent. A single disagreement can severely injure a person. Such a terrifying power. If it is paired with a character of burning, it will be terrifying. Your heart rate is much faster than usual, and you dare not look at me directly. Are you afraid? Are you afraid of me? Hearing what Yi Ren said, Qinran was taken aback and quickly shook her head. I just feel like you've changed a bit. Has it changed? Yi Ren said with a smile. If the yellow hair like just now is not dealt with by thunder, more similar guys will emerge. The so-called killing chickens to scare monkeys. Just to strike harder, to scare those idiots from taking the lead. Yi Ren thought he had seriously injured the little yellow hair. The college will also send people to trouble him. But it turns out he was overthinking it. The 4 major academies encourage fighters to fight each other, and actual combat is the only criterion for testing strength. As long as no one is killed, the college officials basically don't care about the conflicts among the students. Afternoon. The 3 of Yi Ren came to the key class. The huge classroom can accommodate 50 or 60 people, and the 2 key classes are located in 2 different buildings. Sister Walnut, let's sit here. Qinran found a seat on the side. But not long after they sat down, a young man who was interested in stood beside Yi Ren. He is only about 1.67 meters. The complexion is like wheat. A face is square, and the left eyebrow is still broken. 2 small eyes narrowed, caramel-colored short, ear-length hair, parted vertically in the middle. Hey, let's change places. Quote? Yi Ren looked at the broken eyebrows and small eyes suspiciously. Are you talking to me? Broken eyebrows and small eyes folded his hands over his chest, indicating that he fell in love with the squad leader and the others and wanted to sit next to them. Let Yi Ren, who is in the way, take the initiative to give up his position. Some people around cast melon-eating eyes. Everyone likes to watch the excitement. Yi Ren glanced back at Qinran and the others. Look, I'm just saying, these guys never stop. The voice just fell. Broken eyebrows and small eyes were lifted by Yi Ren's chest and lifted into the air. He made a voice of, what are you doing? Yi Ren played trapeze with 10 hands in front of everyone. Throw the broken eyebrows and small eyes out. Then catch him faster. For a while, everyone could only see the dense afterimages above the classroom, as well as the screams of the broken eyebrows. Just throw it for half a minute. Duanmei Xiaoyan shrank on the ground like a sick prawn, twitching non-stop. After this, among the freshmen in the entire class, no one dared to challenge them. Everyone silently added Yi Ren to the list of not to be messed with. Soon, when the teacher came into the classroom, he saw the broken eyebrows and small eyes twitching on the ground, still wondering. Want to help him up. But Duanmei Xiaoyan yelled and rushed out. He was overwhelmed by fear. Just want to get as far away from Yi Ren as possible. It wasn't until he couldn't see his face at all that he returned to normal. Cough. Anyway, let me introduce myself first. The teacher looked at everyone with a smile on his face. My name is Li Yuanyang, and if I don't expect it, I will be your counselor, and I inherit the blood of Qinglong. As soon as the words came out, the freshmen all exclaimed in surprise. Qinglong bloodline, that is one of the bloodlines of the 4 great beasts, and one of the most mysterious and powerful bloodlines in the entire Dragon Kingdom. I usually like fishing, and I like to raise some flowers and plants, small animals and so on. Teacher Li Yuanyang was very gentle when he laughed. The irises are dark brown, but one of them is an ultramarine iris. Since you have chosen to join Qinglong Academy, then work hard and become an excellent warrior. After speaking, Li Yuanyang's eyes suddenly fell on Yi Ren. He smiled and said, Student, I heard that you can fly. Can you introduce yourself? Before class, Yi Ren's bloody hand broke his eyebrows and eyes. He has been remembered by the whole class, and everyone's eyes are on him now. Good teacher. Li Yuanyang greeted him with a smile, and Yi Ren replied with a polite smile. In the slight exclamation of everyone, Yi Ren really flew up and landed lightly on the podium. Behold this scene. Li Yuanyang's pupils shrank slightly, and the smile on the corner of his mouth became more obvious. Everyone will be classmates in the future. My name is Yi Ren, and I hope to be friends with you. That slightly shy smile, those clear eyes and gentle tone. Let everyone who is doing it have an extremely uncomfortable sense of separation. Is he really the same person as that just now? Teacher Li Yuanyang showed admiring eyes. Very well, next, I want to say one thing, please listen carefully. Li Yuanyang suddenly became serious. He pointed out and said, the key class in the next building, the people in it are our opponents, I hope everyone can pay attention to it. You should know that closed military training will be in 1 week, and we need to defeat them. Where there is competition, there will be progress. Everyone is fighting high. A week later, the closed military training will be held in the camp, for individual excellent freshmen. Will be picked out. Some bigwigs will be accepted as apprentices to teach martial arts attainments. Military training is not easy. On the contrary, there are many dangers, and it is not uncommon to be injured or disabled, but is Yi Ren worried? Yes, he is worried. Worried about being too boring. Okay, everyone get along well in the future, even if you fight, you must be careful. Then there is the part of the dormitory. During the first year of freshmen's enrollment, it is mandatory to arrange accommodation. Only through the end-of-year assessment of the first year. Only then are they eligible to break away from the compulsory arrangement and live outside by themselves. But the new students in the key class, they are all luxurious apartments with 2 people sharing a dormitory, so they are not wrong. That's great, I live with Sister Walnut. I don't know if it's a coincidence. There are still other arrangements. Chinran and Hu Dao were assigned to the same dormitory. Seeing Chinran's eagerness to the monitor, Yi Ren couldn't help feeling a little worried. What day is the monitor? You won't be abducted by Chinran, will you? And Yi Ren went to his dormitory, ready to see what kind of personality his roommate had. Hi, I'm Yi Big Brother. When a cream-colored Tushan Jui appeared in front of Yi Ren in men's clothing. Both of them were dumbfounded. It turned out that Tu Shanjui had already considered it on the plane, in order to avoid people always accosting him. She might as well continue to disguise herself as a man. Phew, I was worried that I might meet a difficult roommate, but if it's Yi Big Brother, I'm relieved. Tu Shanjui patted his chest, showing a slightly silly smile. Yi Ren glared at her, relieved. How did this girl's brain grow? Don't she really think of herself as a man? Adertisement. No, this is absolutely not possible. How can Yi Ren bear to live with Tu Shanjuyi? Don't think too highly of the strength of being a man. Continue like this. Sooner or later something will happen. Wait a minute, Yi Big Brother. Tu Shanjui pulled Yi Ren's arm tearfully. She said that if Yi Ren is not willing to live with her, then she can only be forced to live with other boys. What if it's a very bad boy? Then you can't do this to me, can you? Yi Ren's face hurts. How much does this girl trust herself? I believe Yi Big Brother won't bully me, you are a good man. It's all about this. What else could Yi Ren say? He could only sigh faintly. A week passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, a large number of soldiers in military uniforms came to the academy and sent the freshmen one by one into bulletproof armored vehicles. The location of the camp is classified. All freshmen are arranged in a closed back compartment, and they have to travel for 4 or 5 hours in the bumps. In a narrow and quiet compartment. Hardly anyone spoke. Their mobile phones have lost signal and can be used for nothing but to check the time. In this kind of environment, humans are extremely sensitive to the perception of time. Why haven't you arrived? Someone complained quietly. Yi Ren looked out quietly. After all, he had clairvoyance and could see the scenery outside. Hey, little brother. At this time, the little boy next to Yi Ren suddenly poked him. This boy is about 1.6 meters tall. It is short for boys. The skin is slightly pale, but the figure is well proportioned and vigorous, with just the right proportion of muscles. A pair of sleeping phoenix eyes looked at Yi Ren. Dark brown pupils with subtle color changes at different angles. My name is Serval. What's your name, brother? Yi Ren. The boy scratched his head. He didn't expect Yi Ren to answer his real name so straightforwardly. Okay, my name is Sao Zan, but Serval sounds better, right? The Serval cat was probably bored. Only then did I take the initiative to chat with Yi Ren, and he talked a lot. Although Yi Ren kept replying one after another. He also babbled happily. Hey, you said, will we play with guns during the training? I heard that holding a gun is worse than holding a knife. Yi Ren, what level of martial artist are you? I'm 5th level, although it's not long before 5th level. Suddenly, Yi Ren made a silent gesture. He frowned, and saw a figure flickering in the distance through the airtight black cloth. The man was dressed as a wizard. It's actually more than 2 meters high, and it's covered in gray robes. Yi Ren threw perspective. Seeing his dark complexion, his face looks like a gorilla, and he has dreadlocks. The weird thing is, the wizard's eyes seem to suffer from cataracts. There is no black in the cloudy whites of the eyes. What are you looking at? Serval came closer, but he could only see the opaque black cloth. Next moment, under the vehicle in front, there was a sudden violent explosion. The whole armored truck went flying. The carriage where Yi Ren was in also braked suddenly, and no one knew what happened. All they could hear was loud bangs and brakes. Under Yi Ren's gaze, the black man dressed as a wizard muttered something, and at the same time, a ghostly blue ball of light appeared out of thin air near the truck. The ball of light retracts inward. When the outer layer touches the core, a violent explosion occurs. Boom! There was another explosion, and the scene became a little chaotic. The soldiers reacted quickly. However, the wizard was thousands of meters away, and no one found him for a while. You'd better stay here. After Yi Ren turned his head and said to the unknown serval. It flew out with a bang. The freshman in the carriage only had time to let out an exclamation. Kilometers away, the wizard put his hands together on his chest. While muttering something in his mouth, suddenly his pupils shrank. The next moment Yi Ren grabbed him by the neck and smashed him to the ground. Hey! The skin is quite thick. Yi Ren's smash, speed plus kinetic energy, brought destructive power comparable to that of a missile blasting in the air. A half-meter deep pit was sunk in the ground. It is about 20 meters in diameter. Nearby trees snapped in half, creating a vacuum. Giggle. The wizard isn't dead yet, but he's not far off. His jaw disappeared, and most of the bones in his body were shattered into powder. Not to mention the internal organs, almost all turned into minced meat. Under one blow, Yi Ren instantly killed the mysterious wizard. At the same time, Yi Ren seemed to hear some vague voice. Heterogeneous. That voice seemed to be roaring, and it seemed to be chewing something while talking. It lasted only for a split second. Then the wizard completely lost his breath of life, and was carried limply by Yi Ren. The other side, the one in front of the soldiers was also a black man, but he didn't look like a wizard. Instead, wear modern clothes. He is still stepping on a pair of acones, the dog tag on his chest is flashing, and there is no hair on his head. His skin is an eerie purple. He is about 1.8 meters tall, with 2 deformed spiral horns on his bald head. The face is an inverted triangle. The eyeballs are very small, only as big as mung beans. Hear the call of God. He shouted in that inarticulate voice, holding his hands up against the barrage of gunfire. The melodious voice dissipated. All the soldiers who were affected showed painful expressions, and blood flowed from their ears. But even so, their indomitable will did not stop them from attacking. But bullets fired from rifles. It landed on the red-skinned black bean-eyed body with horns, making the sound of hitting steel. There was a bang on the table. The bullet couldn't penetrate his skin. On the contrary, it will be flattened and broken due to the reaction. Ha ha ha. Are you tickling me? Sigh. The red-skinned black bean eyes with croissant horns moved in front of a soldier at high speed, and blocked the barrel of the gun with his bare hands. He even bent the rifle with his backhand. He smiled contemptuously. The soldier took out a dagger with his backhand, controlled the soldiers with air, and quickly stabbed the right eye with red skin and black bean eyes with horns. However, the latter tilted his head slightly. The air-covered dagger pierced the skin of his face, but it was difficult to penetrate deeply. Oops. The soldier's expression changed slightly, and the next moment his right hand was torn off by the goat's horn, red skin and black bean eyes. At the same time, the firepower of the teammates became more intensive. Although he couldn't break through the defense, it still made the horned red-skinned black bean eyes back again and again, grinning in pain. With a livid face, the broken-arm soldier took out a grenade with his other hand, bit off the ring and threw it at the red-skinned black bean eye with horns. But with a bang, the dense shrapnel is like a bullet. Unable to break the defense. Controller, kill him. At this moment, everyone only heard a loud noise, and the next moment something fell from the sky. It was Yi Ren, who landed in front of the red-skinned black bean eyes with claw horns. Then he swung his fist towards his stomach. The soldiers all stared wide-eyed. Because the invulnerable horned red-skinned black bean eyes suddenly bowed down. It sounded disgusting. The screen looks even worse. Yi Ren punched him directly in the stomach. Take advantage of the trend. A lump of intestines fell out. Gah, gah. The horned red skin and black bean eyes let out a mournful and painful wail. Obviously he has the body of a demon. Those rifle bullets, tickle yourself, but why? The croissant, red skin and black bean eyes have since joined the vestibule. After possessing this demonic body, he lived a life that he thought he was invincible. Nobody, without any weapons, can break his defense. He is like a real devil, wantonly dominating other people's lives. He doesn't understand. I am so powerful, my invulnerable demon body. Why was this boy in front of me? Punch through. Yi Ren made a faint sound of doubt, because in his prediction, this guy would be directly beaten into minced meat by himself. Unexpectedly, it was not broken. And the hole in his stomach was healing fast, his intestines rumbling back. Ah! The horned red-skinned black bean eyes suddenly opened their mouths viciously. The jagged teeth gleamed sharply. Devil's tooth. Although he's never tried it, this set of teeth should easily shred steel. Crackling, gritty teeth. Ah! A more mournful howl sounded. The croissant, red skin, black beans, eyes are full of blood, and the jagged teeth have collapsed all over the floor. He almost fainted from the pain. Yi Ren raised his fist and stopped suddenly, because behind him were the soldiers who had already froze. And with his strength, if he hits the red-skinned black bean-eyed body with claw horns hard, the shock wave caused may accidentally injure friendly troops. Boom. So Yi Ren simply took him to the sky and dealt with him in the sky. Gulu. The soldiers had complicated expressions. Is he our support? The sword bearer. He's not wearing the uniform of a sword bearer. Never mind him, it must be one of our own. Just when the soldiers breathed a sigh of relief and planned to see if the students of Qinglong College were okay. The crisis is not over yet. If we say that the two black people just now are the gods in the vestibule. So now, what appeared in the sight of the soldiers was the group of cubs from Country M. Transfer. It was a woman with a height of 1.67 meters, a plump figure, and a milky complexion. The face is round and round, with black hair and green eyes. There is a black tear mole in the shape of crystal at the corner of the right eye. She is wearing a hot black t-shirt with a golden eagle on it. She yelled to transfer, and then densely packed soldiers from Country M appeared. They are fully armed, and the individual equipment of each of them is as high as $100,000. Bang bang bang. For a while, the two armies exchanged fire, the barrage was densely packed, and the bullets frantically shuttled through the air. But the soldiers from Country M were clearly prepared, and the Country Long was caught by surprise. The weakness in equipment made the situation even more critical. Protect the children. Even so, the commander yelled, they could sacrifice, but not the children. Keep the firepower, I will transfer the target. Blonde walks to the truck with the students. The soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom drew out their guns and shot, but they couldn't do anything to the body of the supernatural being. Yi Tae Niang is invulnerable. The bullet hit her body, except that the clothes were broken. It can only leave a little white mark and cannot break the defense. See here, among the soldiers, those 5-level Yuang warriors gave up their rifles. With their backhands, they drew out their respective weapons to kill the woman. Sword. The way to control the weapon is to hear a sword chant, and the blue sword pierces the sky at supersonic speed. A long gun followed closely behind. But at the moment when he was about to hit the woman, the blonde hair and blue eyes suddenly disappeared from the spot. Only a thin layer of blue smoke remained in the air. Watch out for your head. The blonde hair and blue eyes appeared in the sky above the martial artist, holding a lock and firing several shots. Warriors are different from supernatural beings. They are not invulnerable, but they have weapons, and the controller can easily smash all the flying bullets. They exchanged a look. I saw two of them stepped on the ground and then flew up tens of meters high. At the same time, Phaegian rushed under their feet. When the pilot is flying, the warrior is usually unable to use another weapon, because human energy is limited. But they only need to lock the blonde, and kill their companions on the ground, the driver. A little bit of cold light comes first, and then the spear comes out like a dragon. A long gun with a high speed of Mach 3. This is the killing move. But the blonde hair and blue eyes disappeared again, leaving a layer of blue mist in place. This time the warriors understood. This woman's ability is actually a very uncommon teleportation. Caught you. Suddenly, the warrior with the long spear was caught by the shoulders of the flashing blonde hair and blue eyes. Then the two disappeared in place. Next moment, the blonde hair and blue eyes led him to a height of hundreds of meters. The powerful physique of the superhuman made her want to kill the martial artist with one punch. It's a pity that the martial artist's body is not as good as hers, but in terms of skills, it is crushing. A score with a broken hand. The blonde-haired blue-eyed woman let out a cry of pain, and the martial artist's muscles and bones all fell on her weak joints. Asshole. She let go of her hand and let the martial artist fall freely, wishing to let him fall to his death just like that. But the Qilin gun came through the air. The warrior used his strength to lighten his body, and a swallow turned and stepped on the barrel of the spear. These Dragon Kingdom people are really. The blonde hair and blue eyes cursed an ugly word. Those who sprayed medicine couldn't understand the mysteries of martial arts at all. But, give me all to die. Flashing 4 or 5 times in a row, the blonde-haired and blue-eyed martial artists of the 5th stage of the Jade Balance realm. All of them were sent to an altitude of 700 meters. And at the cost of injuries, they spread their weapons thousands of meters away. At this time, she showed a ferocious smile. Someone is about to ask. Why do soldiers look so weak here? That's because most of these soldiers are warriors of the 3rd and 4th ranks, and they are here to lead the students to military training. No one expected that there would be an accident halfway. However, support is already on the way, and it is not too far from the camp, so it should arrive soon. And the students have many warriors who are in the 5th stage of Jade Balance. JZ. This group of rookies who have never been on the battlefield or killed anyone are under the firepower of the soldiers of Country M. It's not even as good as those soldiers in the 3rd and 4th ranks. And none of them have weapons now. Of course, there are still a small number of students who have shown amazing calmness and practical ability. Among them were the squad leader and Chin Ran. And that serval cat. Die, die, die. He was like a ghost, shuttling among the soldiers of Country M. One after another the corpses fell down. Boom. Serval's nimble body lost its balance and fell down. The right leg was bloody. Seeing that he was about to die at gunpoint, a dazzling golden light swept over. The soldiers of Country M who were affected were turned into charcoal before they even had time to scream. The squad leader's skin shone slightly, and she lifted the serval expressionlessly. At the same time, Chin Ran was also using the power of his blood to barely protect the screaming wounded. Thanks. Serval gritted its teeth and retreated to the edge of the bunker. Chin Ran was very fast, and she shuttled under the chaotic gun lines like ice skating. As long as you get close, she will punch out with small fists. The power of the blood will instantly destroy the internal organs of the soldiers of Country M, killing them in seconds. If only I had brought my ice spear. Chin Ran pursed her lips. If she had a weapon, she wouldn't be so passive at all. Because of the help of the squad leader and the others, the pressure on the soldiers was reduced. But even so, everyone is still at a disadvantage. Because there is a steady stream of M country soldiers, who are still being sent over by the blonde. Where's the red-skinned monster? After the blonde-haired and blue-eyed general sent the 5th stage Jade Hang Realm fighters into the sky. She was also a little out of breath. The high-intensity teleportation in a short period of time made it difficult for her to breathe. But, those warriors from the Dragon Kingdom should surely die. After all, their weapons have already been teleported far away by themselves. And they themselves are in free fall at a height of 100 meters. Hiss. The blonde covered the bloody hole in his waist and took a mouthful of cold skin. This was when he was transmitting the weapon. Wounded by those weapons. Above the sky, the feeling of weightlessness caused the adrenaline to be released crazily by those warriors, but they were unable to return with their weapons. The distance is too far. Seeing that they are about to fall to their deaths. Call out. A vague shadow in midair caught them and swallowed the kinetic energy in an instant. It's Yi Ren. The biological force field is really a good thing. The warriors stared wide-eyed. But after Yi Ren put them back on the ground, they disappeared in the blink of an eye. The blonde hair and blue eyes only felt a blur in front of them. She teleported instinctively. Intuition saved her life. If she slowed down even a little bit, she would turn into a puddle of blood that her own mother couldn't recognize. The blonde hair and blue eyes teleported to 100 meters in the air. Her pupils shrank. What? Because she saw under her feet, Yi-Ren was touching half of the disgusting thing in her hand. It was a red-skinned monster with horns. Pity. There is only one head left. On that ferocious face, deep fear and despair still remained. Blonde hair and blue eyes only feel scalp tingling. Goosebumps on her arms popped out at this moment, and she could feel her heart beating faster. Instinct screamed in her head. Run away, run away. Plop. The already dead, red-skinned, black bean-eyed head with claw horns was thrown on the ground by Yi-Ren. Next moment, boom, he suddenly appeared in front of the blonde hair and blue eyes, with a fist the size of a sandbag, straight for her face. Ah! Amidst the screams, the blonde hair and blue eyes disappeared again. She teleported this time and appeared 1,600 meters away to the southeast. But she has just completed the teleportation and is still in the post-swing stage. Then she saw Yi-Ren appearing in front of her like a ghost. Quote? The blonde hair and blue eyes were scared out of their wits. She couldn't understand at all whether the monster in front of her was teleporting or exaggerated in speed. She just knew she couldn't stop. The moment you stop, you die. Run. Another few flashes. Blonde flashes seem to know no distance limits. Occasionally long and occasionally short. To be honest, with her ability, the escape is really top-notch, but only a few seconds. She came almost to the provincial border. Who? The blonde hair and blue eyes were pale, and her head was full of cold sweat. Her own multiple teleportation in a short period of time was nothing. But the main thing is to send those batches of soldiers from Country M directly from Country M to the territory of Dragon Country. It nearly drained her energy. But, boom. There was a sound of breaking through the air, and she raised her head in despair. Yi-Ren was floating above her head. A pair of dead-looking eyes stared at her oppressively. No, the blonde groaned. She knew that she had to risk everything, even though she was exhausted. Although she knew that if she teleported again, there might be serious consequences. But even turning into a vegetative state is better than dying on the spot. She disappeared. This time, Yi-Ren really failed to catch up with her. Because the blonde hair and blue eyes teleported directly from Dragon Country back to M Country. Yi-Ren snorted coldly, although he could also fly directly to Country M. But for now let's get rid of the troubles at hand. Hold on. Support is coming soon. The commander himself is also one of the warriors in the 5th stage Yuang realm, but he wants to protect the students. His left arm was pierced by a soldier from Country M with a gun. And his weapon. It was also scrapped under the bombardment of too many bullets. The disparity in quantity and equipment. Everyone couldn't help feeling a sense of despair. Sister Walnut. Chinren's short blue hair seemed to become a little more transparent, and her bright eyes before seemed dimmed. She was covered in sweat and her body was crumbling. She has also reached the point where the oil is exhausted. Not just him. Dragon Kingdom has really been exhausted to the limit. Hold on to. Quote. The squad leader's cold face was also a little pale. The gold cyclone in her body is expended at an accelerated rate due to the frequent use of nuclear fusion energy. At this time, the squad leader obviously felt a little overwhelmed. Hold on. Never let them hurt the children. In that unwilling roar, a figure crashed to the ground. He debuted in a superhero-style half-kneel, just the shockwave when he landed. Dozens of soldiers from Country M were killed on the spot. The screen seems to be stuck. That's because everyone was stunned for half a second by the sudden change. Then the soldiers of Country M reacted. Aiming at Yi-Ren, he frantically pulled the trigger. And Yi-Ren faced the barrage. Take a deep breath. The biological force field wrapped him, and Yi-Ren opened his hands, floating more than 3 meters high. Bang 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 bang. The sound of gunshots is endless, but how can it break through the body of Superman? The squad leader's pupils shrank. Yi-Ren's eyes. Hearing the monitor's reminder, Chinran also widened her beautiful eyes, showing a shocked expression. The next moment, Li Wang Hao. 2 arm-thick red lasers shot out from Yi-Ren's eyes. Hot knife cut tofu. No, perhaps that is not enough to describe the power of thermal vision. The moment the red light beam touched the body of the soldier of Country M, it was easily cut off in half. In a horrified scream, the thermal vision harvests life with terrifying efficiency, and everything within its reach is burned. After a few seconds, Yi Ren blinked, and the red lines around the eyes gradually faded. Coke all over the place. Dead bodies littered the field. There was a pungent sulfur smell in the air. No. Don't. Mom, woohoo. The last soldier to be broken in two. He was still crawling hard on the ground, but he was so badly injured that he died after a few meters. Yi Ren took a deep breath. Pressing the unbearable and pain in his eyes back to the bottom of his heart, he floated down from the sky. But the eyes that everyone greeted him were not admiration, but fear that went deep into the bone marrow. In dead silence, all that could be heard were the voices of people trembling even for breathing, and someone whispering. Murmured in fear, monster. Yes, hundreds of thousands of soldiers were slaughtered in a few seconds, and they were directly cut in half. This is beyond their comprehension. You are safe. Yi Ren didn't say much, just left this sentence with a little tiredness. Then came to the monitor. Is he tired? Not physically, but mentally it's always uncomfortable. Although he had already guessed this result. You are not a monster, you are my hero. There was a touch of distress on the monitor's cold face. He grabbed Yi Ren and interlocked his fingers. Yeah, you saved all of us. Chin Ran also spoke seriously. Only then did Yi Ren smile, and he didn't care what others said about him. As long as there is a squad leader to support yourself, it is enough. And Chin Ran, this little girl is also very nice. Soon, the support arrived. You want to say that they came slowly. In fact, it was not too slow, it only took about 10 minutes. Tell me quickly, if it wasn't for Yi Ren, it's hard to say how many people will be alive after 10 minutes. Among the military personnel who came to support, Thunder is also inside. In fact, he was not in the camp area before, but was performing a mission on the border of the capital. This is a special call back. The one wearing the same uniform as Jinglei was a girl. About 1.7 meters, half a head shorter than Jinglei. She has a well-proportioned figure and her long legs are very eye-catching. The skin color is not as fair as that of the monitor and Chin Ran. It is a healthy wheat color. The face is shaped like a heart, under the crescent eyebrows is a pair of world-weary drooping eyes with dark brown pupils. Sauce has short red hair and neat bangs. It looks like it is very energetic, but it seems to be very lazy. Mom, here, what happened here? Jinglei exclaimed. There was a disgusting stench of burning corpses. Within 100 meters of Fang Yuan, all the trees were cut off at the middle, and not a single grass grew. Not just him. The people who came to support were all surprised. Explode. The world-weary girl with red short hair let out a doubtful voice. But she was overthrown immediately. After they communicated with the commander, they looked at Yi Ren in astonishment. Jinglei turned from shock to a wry smile. I thought I knew him a little bit. God, what kind of monster is this? Shut up and be polite. The monster I'm talking about is a compliment. The red-haired world-weary girl came to Yi Ren, stretched out her hand and said. The sword-bearer, codenamed Yu Hai, thank you for your helping hand to save these people. They are all compatriots, so there is no need to be so polite. Yi Ren briefly shook hands with her. He felt that Yu Hai's body temperature was lower than normal, and there was a raised outline on her back. Subconsciously looked through perspective. It turned out that the girl actually had a pair of blue wings. It's just that the shrinkage is hidden behind the back and it's hard to see. When Yi Ren scanned Yu Hai with perspective, she seemed to feel something and frowned slightly. Feel sorry. Yi Ren blinked his eyes, but he was being rude. A girl's intuition is really scary. Because something like this happened. The higher authorities are considering whether to carry out military training as planned. After some discussion, still decided to go ahead with the original plan. After all, the people above learned that most of this group of 5th Dan freshmen were too frightened to move in actual combat. It's really embarrassing. It was Chin Ran and the squad leader who were awarded honors and commendations. This can add credits. Everyone else showed envious eyes. After all, although the 4 colleges are well known, many young geniuses can only get a certificate of completion. Only martial arts wizards who have turned their talents into strength. In order to get a diploma from the 4 colleges. Speaking up, Yi Ren didn't see Tu Shanjui, and he later found out that it was Tu Shan's direct relationship. Let him save the hard work of military training. I have to say that a little background is indeed very popular. Sif, please come with me. Everyone else entered the camp under the guidance of the soldiers, except Yi Ren, who was specially arranged. He followed Yu Hai and Jing Lei. After undergoing many tests along the way, they finally came to the heavily guarded special base. There are various defense nets that he can't understand outside. There are also heavy guards. It can be said that even mosquitoes can't fly in. The boss who founded the sword-bearer department, she wants to see you alone. Jing Lei whispered to Yi Ren. At the same time, he showed envious eyes. I think he had never received such treatment when he was recruited into the sword-bearer after graduation. Soon, Yi Ren was taken to a special room. Sitting inside were 4 or 5 old men in military uniforms with badges on their chests. They were sullen. It wasn't until seeing Yi Ren coming in that his expression softened a little. Among these old men, Yi Ren saw a stunningly beautiful and hot woman. Mr. Yu, long time no see, I didn't expect you to have grown to this level. Mr. Yu is as gentle and charming as ever. What do you want to drink? I asked Jing Lei to get it for you, and he ran very fast. Jing Lei, who was guarding outside, sneezed. It caused Yu Hai to dislike him for a while. Stay away from me, don't give me the cold. Yi Ren scratched his head, and sat down on the assigned chair for no apparent reason. The old men looked at him kindly, as if looking at his grandson. Mr. Yu, if you have something to say, you might as well just say it. Yi Ren couldn't stand the atmosphere. Turn out to be. Mr. Yu was completely shocked by Yi Ren's talent and strength, so he desperately wanted to recruit him into the group. The Sword Bearer is a department created by me and another person. Are you interested in joining? Sorry, we do not have that. Yi Ren's blunt answer made the expressions of the elders stiffen. This young man, it would be too shameless. On the contrary, Mr. Yu seems to have expected it a long time ago. Her beautiful eyes looked at Yi Ren, her tone was very sincere. Can you tell me why? Yi Ren scratched his head. Reason or something. I just don't want to be restrained. If the country needs me, just tell me. I am obliged. After all, I am from the Dragon Kingdom. But if I'm asked to join any organization, then it depends on the face of the leader, how I behave in the department and so on. That's cumbersome and annoying. For Yi Ren's answer. Mr. Yu obviously did not expect it, and after a long while, she raised doubts. That's it. Mr. Yu pursed his lips and chuckled lightly. Yi Ren was stunned for a moment by that charming appearance. He quickly looked away, pretending to look around the scenery. Still remember, this Mr. Yu is hundreds of years old. Really, a certain soldier boy was right. Women are like fine wine, the older they get the better. Take a look at Mr. Kuyu, who wouldn't be tempted by such a good-looking figure. Yi Ren, are you interested to be my apprentice? Yi Ren wanted to say no. But on second thought, it's just a teacher, and I don't suffer any disadvantages, and Mr. Yu is not only beautiful, but also holds a high position. Good. If someone else. At this time, I'm afraid they are all excited, trembling all over. But Yi Ren's answer was so simple, and his calm demeanor made all the elders present feel complicated. Mr. Yu has a very special position in Dragon Kingdom. Her apprentice. That also means extremely special treatment in Dragon Kingdom. Although it stands to reason. Apprenticeship needs to complete some rituals, but it seems that you don't like trouble. Mr. Yu beckoned, and Yi Ren came to her side. It's getting closer. Only then can Yi Ren realize the specialness of Mr. Yu. Her skin was clean and smooth. As warm and moist as the finest jade, is such skin really something that humans can have? From now on, you can call me master. Yi Ren nodded. In the Dragon Kingdom, the word master is very important. This is a culture that has been passed down from ancient times to the present. Yi Ren knelt on the ground, clasped his fists in salute. Master. This claim established the relationship between the two. Yi Ren could smell a delicate fragrance. You can also see Mr. Yu's legs wrapped in black silk, close at hand. What a pair of peerless legs. The calf is slender, the thigh is moist, and the proportions are amazingly perfect. Those delicate and small jade feet stepped in the high heels made of translucent material. It complements the hot and antique dress on her body. Your body is very tough. Can you tell me what bloodline you inherited? Mr. Yu helped Yi Ren up. His eyes were full of admiration. I'm special. Yi Ren knew that even if he mentioned the blood of Superman, Mr. Yu would only show a blank expression. After all, in this world, the power of the blood is inherited from the ancient beasts, but he has inherited the blood of another universe. Your strength, even I am amazed as if a deep pool has no bottom. Mr. Yu closed his beautiful eyes. Her chi surrounds Yi Ren, sensing him. But the more this is the case, the more difficult it is for Mr. Yu to calm down. To the end, she opened her eyes complicatedly, looked directly into Yi Ren's pupils and said, Maybe I'm not qualified to be your master at all. But you can rely on me. If you encounter any trouble or difficulty, you can talk to me, and I will help you. Mr. Yu said and patted Yi Ren's head. His eyes are very kind. You have this power, but you haven't become a bad person, and your character is as brilliant as gold. Yi Ren looked at Mr. Yu helplessly. Her little hand was on her head, petting it like a dog. Especially her kind and doting eyes. It made Yi Ren feel uncomfortable. When Mr. Yu changed the topic, her eyes became sharper. Regarding this sudden attack, we have come to a conclusion. That organization has joined forces with the M country officials. This is a very big trouble for Long Guo. That organization must have promised something, so that country M is willing to take risks to cooperate with it. Mr. Yu looked at Yi Ren. I hope to get more information. Are you willing to help the motherland to complete this task? Mr. Yu said. I hope Yi Ren can cooperate with the sword bearers. Go to Country M together to find out what the deal between that organization and Country M is. And the subsidiary task is to fight back. The Arc Light Research Institute, located in the north of Kent State in M Country, is one of the research institutes that produced compound number 6. Destroying this research institute can cause heavy losses to Country M. But that research institute is heavily guarded, and a large number of military forces are deployed to defend it. Mr. Yu hoped that Yi Ren could figure out the deal between that organization and Country M first. If you destroy the institute, on the premise of ensuring your own safety, consider whether to implement it. Okay, I'll take it. However, Yi Ren's straightforwardness was beyond Mr. Yu's expectation. She froze for a moment. Then he showed an apologetic expression. I'm not forcing you to accept the mission, it's okay if you want to refuse. Yi Ren shook his head. They dared to attack us openly, and I must avenge them. To put it mildly, it is for the national interest. To be selfish, Yi Ren just wanted revenge. To this, Mr. Yu tilted his head slightly. She hugged Yi Ren into her arms, and rewarded the facial cleanser. Sure enough, he's a good boy. Maybe it's because you have lived too long. She only treats Yi Ren as a child, but this way of treating her is a bit too exciting. Jinglei will take you to meet the companions who performed the mission together and receive the corresponding equipment. After Yi Ren left the meeting room, those silent elders looked at Mr. Yu and asked. He's a kid, is it a little too hasty to send him on a mission? We don't have much time left. Mr. Yu smiled lightly. But after she finished speaking, she gently covered her vermilion lips with the back of her hand and coughed a few times. Scarlet blood stains were faintly visible on the back of the hand. To this, Mr. Yu's eyes became complicated and heavy. In the short time I have left, the bloodline transfer plan must be completed as soon as possible. Thunder is waiting outside. Tisk tisk tisk, I heard Mr. Yu chose you as his apprentice. That's great, you are her second apprentice in the past few decades. Huh, where's the first one? Jinglei's smile fell silent slightly. He led the way, telling Mr. Renyu about his past while walking. The power of Mr. Yu's bloodline is very special. She had become a warrior of the 7th stage of the Heavenly Basin realm 100 years ago, and she had remained young forever at that time. Originally Mr. Yu had a chance to break through to the 8th stage of Legendary, but at that time, she picked up an orphan. Maybe it was fate. Mr. Yu adopted him and taught him martial arts. But the orphan's talent is really not good. Even with the guidance of Mr. Yu's boss, he broke through to the 5th stage of Yuang at the age of 30. With such a talent, he estimated that it would be difficult for the bell to break through to the 7th stage. He disappeared for a while, and when he reappeared, he had become a scientist of Country M. He took advantage of Mr. Yu's trust. With despicable means, part of Mr. Yu's blood power was extracted. Through this, he successfully broke through to the 6th stage of Heaven and Power, and successfully escaped back to Country M. Because of him, Mr. Yu lost the chance to break through the 8th stage of the Heavenly Jade Realm, and was seriously injured because of it. Hear. Yi Ren showed a thoughtful expression. No wonder his super hearing allowed him to hear the noise in Mr. Yu's body that was different from ordinary people. At the same time, Mr. Yu coughed after he left. I didn't expect that Mr. Yu would accept disciples again, so don't betray her. Yi Ren shook his head and couldn't help saying, such a beautiful master, that orphan is really mentally ill. Hey, actually, I heard that the reason why that guy betrayed Mr. Yu was because Mr. Yu rejected him. Reject what? Proposal 7. In response, Yi Ren's expression became strange. It's not incomprehensible. After all, it's normal to develop feelings for a beautiful woman like Mr. Yu. Unfortunately, flowing water is affectionate and flowers are unintentional. Mr. Yu just raised that guy as a child. Hiss. This is love turns hate in Legendary. Yi Ren, there are 11 people in the sword-wielding department, among them you Hai and Ice Turtle have a good relationship with me. As for the others, not easy to get along with, you know what I mean. Can join the special department of Sword Bearer. Which one is not a genius? Which one is not a warrior with extraordinary strength? The more talented and powerful they are, the more arrogant and difficult these people will be. Jinglei didn't know what to think of. He suddenly grinned. They probably will look down on you. Of course, if you want to beat them all up, I will support you. Yi Ren rolled his eyes. Am I such a violent person? And beat them all. We are all in one organization, and getting along in harmony must be the most important thing. Soon, Yi Ren met the rest of the sword bearers in the training hall in the base. Interesting, Yi Ren just came in. Then he saw a man with a height of 1.78 meters, a thin face, and a gray complexion walking towards him. He has a lightning-shaped scar on the bridge of his nose. A pair of sword eyebrows. Under the eyebrows are Rufeng eyes, who are looking at her. Black highlights the short hair with gradual graying. It looks very imposing. Yi Ren nodded, Scar on the nose grinned, and stretched out his hand towards him. My code name is Greedy, Tan, and I am currently the captain of the sword bearers. His smile was not pure, and shaking hands was also a kind of temptation. But when he gradually increased his strength, but he found that he seemed to be pinching a piece of alloy, and Yi Ren's expression didn't change. It's almost done, Tansho, he is our partner in this mission. At this time, the other sister who was dancing the sword frowned and slapped away the hand with the scar on her nose. @G@*@%. She didn't see the surprised expression on the nose scar looking at Yi Ren. Hello, my code name is Ice Turtle, and the power of my bloodline is also Ice Turtle. What's your name? This sister is only half a head shorter than Yi Ren, about 1.65 meters. Fair skin with a hint of ice blue. A pair of big moist eyes, looks very gentle and reliable. Bao Blue's waist-length hair is tied in a ponytail. Hi, my name is Yi Ren. Yi Ren couldn't help but look at her more, because she and Chin Ran seemed a little similar. But Chin Ran has Bing Blue's short hair and pupils. The Ice Turtle sister is Bao Blue with waist-length hair and black eyes. Nose scar clicked his tongue. Yi Ren has been expressionless and indifferent since he entered here. It's not that he pretended to be deep on purpose. I just feel that socializing is troublesome and I don't have the energy. The rest of the sword bearers probably thought the same way, they just looked at Yi Ren silently. I didn't come over to introduce myself. Okay, Yi Ren, right, I'm the captain and commander of this mission. Tansho came over and told Yi Ren a lot of rules. Listening, Yi Ren frowned. He couldn't help but interrupt him. I will cooperate with you. In short, just don't become our burden. Greedy Beast bowed his head and smiled, with a very contemptuous attitude. For this mission, we are a group of 4, and we went to the locations provided by the informants to collect intelligence. Greedy Beast made arrangements on its own. Jinglei, Yu Hai, Ice Turtle and Yi Ren were assigned together. Such an arrangement, it made Sister Ice Turtle's face very ugly. It's not fair. However, her objection only got ridiculed laughter from the corrupt monk. What's unfair? You don't really think you'll be of much use on this mission, do you? The rest of the sword bearers also laughed out loud. Yi Ren looked confused. Still sighing in shock, he explained. Ice Turtle is the weakest warrior here, a 5th level Yuang armor realm, and her bloodline power makes her not have much attack ability. Sister Ice Turtle is good at defense, and uses low temperature to create a little control. But, Greedy Beast, the power of his bloodline is greedy, in a sense it is an evil Qilin. This bloodline makes Greedy Beast faster, stronger and harder. Just like those supernatural beings, he is invulnerable, and he can dismantle tanks with his bare hands. Jinglei bared his teeth, obviously feeling horrified at the thought of Tan Beast's record. To this, Yi Ren, that's it. Thunder. Jinglei's blood power is the law, with a speed of Mach 2 normally and Mach 4 at the limit. But his physical strength is limited. With a body of flesh and blood, he can only withstand several high-speed impacts. Once he reaches the limit speed, his body will collapse. Therefore, most of the time, Jinglei can only use speed to play support. Yu Hai's bloodline power is Jingwei, she can fly, and her flight limit speed is the same as my normal speed. But Yu Hai's physical strength is not as strong as Jinglei's. But, Yu Hai possesses extremely strong stamina, and is the one with the longest battery life among all sword holders. She can keep fighting at her peak for several days or even dozens of days. But, it's also a supporting role. So you understand, we here, except you, are all support. Thunder shrugged. On the other hand, Greedy Beasts are all powerful characters. Almost all of them are invulnerable to the blood of divine beasts, and their comprehensive combat power far exceeds that of Yu Hai, Ice Turtle, and Jinglei. We are weaker than them, the gap in blood, there is no way. Jinglei shrugged, but he was very open. Greedy Beast arranged the next plan. Now, grab your gear, get on the plane, and the mission begins. Tancho didn't pay attention to Yi Ren's group of 4 at all. He felt that with him and a few other people, it was enough to deal with this mission. Yi Ren them, just take a cheerleading squad, anyway, almost the previous missions. Jinglei and the others are useless. Wait, you guys go first, I'll catch up with you later. Yi Ren can fly by himself, no need to fly. And he wants to talk to the squad leader and Chin about the task again, so don't let them worry. What did you say? Greedy Beast's expression darkened. As the leader among the sword bearers, who would dare to disobey his orders? Face is everything. Tancho walked up to Yi Ren aggressively, looking down at Yi Ren with the advantage of height. I don't like repeating things, understand? Both Ice Turtle and Yu Hai's expressions became tense. They quickly tried to ease the atmosphere. Unexpectedly, Yi Ren slowly floated up until he was higher than Tan Beast. He flew in the air, looking down at Tan Yu. I can fly by myself. After you arrive in Country M, I will catch up. Greedy Beast expression management became a little out of control. His orders had been disobeyed in the past. His usual style is to subdue the opponent, but now, he was stared at by Yi Ren's calm eyes, and a strange feeling arose in his heart. After realizing his intention to retreat, Tanchu's pupils shrank slightly, and he suddenly grabbed Yi Ren's right leg. Get out of here and talk. However, somewhat embarrassingly so. He actually didn't pull. With his strength, he once overturned a small tank of more than 10 tons. But now he didn't pull Yi Ren. Boom, everyone just felt a blur in front of them. When I came back to my senses, I realized that there was a big hole in the concrete wall of the training hall. It extends all the way to the rubble outside. Yi Ren held Tan Beast by the neck with one hand, allowing him to howl impotently and furiously in his hands. Let me go. Greedy Beast roared and struggled. His turbulent strength seemed to have completely disappeared from Yi Ren. The sturdy figure was suppressed by Yi Ren with one hand. He looked embarrassed. Sky. Both Yu Hai and Ice Turtle covered their mouths. His face was full of shock. Not only them, but the rest of the sword bearers were all stunned. Usually dragged like a greedy beast of 25 to 80,000. To be humiliated by this newcomer, who pressed one hand on the ground. Don't provoke me, okay. Yi Ren is very polite. If you ignore his kind expression on his face. The greedy beast howled. In front of so many faces, it was held down by one hand and couldn't get up. This is no longer something to be ashamed of. It's about dignity. As the saying goes, scholars can be killed, but not humiliated. Even if he is risking his life for the beast today, he still wants to make Yi Ren look good. Go away. The chi in his body gathered together, and the power of his blood was urged to the extreme. Coming. Muscles swell. A powerful force emerged from the body. Then, boom, Yi Ren still held down his head with one hand and smashed it to the ground so easily. Greedy beast only felt his head buzzing. The power that had just been gathered was completely disintegrated. Which one of you? Take him to see a doctor. Although Yi Ren withdrew his strength, seeing how Tan Beast couldn't get up for a long time, he might have smashed his brain. There is still a mission, he doesn't want to cause trouble. Gulu, the sword bearer who was caught by Yi Ren's eyes, swallowed subconsciously. That's all. Greedy beast was carried into the medical area. The bloody look on the face made everyone terrified. 120mm shells fired by tanks. He failed to break through the defense of the greedy beast, but now he was sent in with blood on his face. This time, the rest of the sword bearers looked at Yi Ren. They all became respectful and fearful. Oh my god, Jinglei, am I dazzled? Yu Hai rubbed his eyes, unable to recover for a long time. And ice turtles. At this moment, he had a refreshing and shocking expression. She could see Tan Beast being beaten, and she felt joy from the bottom of her heart, her eyes almost narrowed. He just wiped out the entire squad of M-Country soldiers with one person. Thunder shrugged, then happily ran to make friends with Yi Ren. Yi Ren was embarrassed when he yelled loudly. The greedy beast that was sent to the medical room opened its eyes immediately, and Yi Ren withdrew his strength, or rather, Yi Ren didn't even think about hurting him. After all, he was still needed to carry out the task, and Tan Beast felt too ashamed to be watched by so many people. Simply pretend to be unconscious. That trash of the horse. He scolded Yi Ren angrily, but there was obvious fear in his heart. This is a big bag. It caused indelible damage to his fragile heart. Even if he was bombarded by tanks on the battlefield before, it never made him feel so uncomfortable. Seeing his invulnerable body with his own eyes. It was broken by Yi Ren with one hand. Tansho will no longer feel that he is invincible, and there will always be a shadow in his heart. Boss. The one who helped the greedy beast over was a young man with a height of 1.72 meters and bronze skin. He is obviously a thick-backed figure, but he has a handsome face. Dark purple's broken hair, Lu Yi's eyes. The appearance and figure form a strong sense of separation. Li, what do you want to express? No, boss, it's all right. The handsome man shivered for a moment. The power of his blood was the power of the raccoon. It is a divine beast that controls civil elements. The power of this bloodline endowed him with extremely strong physical fitness, and he can also be invulnerable. As long as it steps on the ground, the raccoon can continuously absorb the power of earth and wood to cultivate itself. But in all aspects, it is still inferior to the evil Qilin Tansho. After cleaning up the blood stains on the head, Greedy Beast took everyone on the plane with a sullen face, and the atmosphere was very silent. Jinglei and the others followed at the end. Yi Ren, he said let's go first, and give him a message when we get to the place. Why? Jinglei resisted Tanshu's gloomy eyes and said. In response, Greedy Beast clenched its fists. The rest of the sword bearers silently pretended to be looking at the scenery, not daring to meet his eyes. Let's go. It takes about 8 hours for the plane to fly from Long Country to M Country. Yi Ren was wandering around the camp, while using super hearing to find the squad leader and the others. It turned out that men and women were assigned to different areas after entering the camp. And conduct closed management. Stop, what are you wandering around outside? This is a heavily fortified military area, so it is not surprising that Yi Ren was stopped, but he is now. But Mr. Yu's apprentice. After receiving the message from the communicator, the soldiers who stopped Yi Ren suddenly changed their expressions. He quickly invited Yi Ren to the training area, and brought out Qin Ran and the squad leader, even for the freshmen who came to train. They should have been trained uniformly. But when someone from above spoke up, the monitor and Qin Ran received special treatment. This includes dormitories on the base. Others live in a room of 7 or 8 people and live in a simple training area, while they live in a small single room in the base. You said, what are you going to do? Qin Ran's beautiful eyes widened. The squad leader also showed a nervous expression. They grabbed Yi Ren's sleeves from left to right, expressing that it was too dangerous. I just went to Country M to have fun. Yi Ren looked very relaxed. It was getting late at night. Yi Ren planned to have a good rest with the squad leader. You Lenin me Lenin some. But Chin Ran, the little girl, stuck to the monitor and didn't let go. She chatted until midnight before she fell into a deep sleep. Is there really no danger? The squad leader put Chin Ran under the quilt. Still unable to bear the worried look in her eyes, she gently pressed her head against Yi Ren's chest. Feel his warmth. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Yi Ren gently kissed the monitor's tender lips, and transmitted the gold cyclone into her body again. The bright moonlight shone on the two of them. Picturesque. While they were kissing, Chin Ran, who was supposed to be asleep on the bed, secretly touched Xiaofenquan. The expression also became a little complicated. Nothing to say all night. When the sun rose as usual, Chin Ran and the squad leader found that Yi Ren had disappeared by the bedside. Yes, because the beds are limited. Last night, this not-so-big bed bore a weight it shouldn't have. At this time, Country M was still at night. After Greedy Beast got off the plane, he immediately led the team to separate from Jinglei and the others. Let's act separately, I wish you good luck, hee. Obviously, Ice Turtle and the others are just doing soy sauce in this operation, and it depends on him to actually carry out the mission. That's how they went, otherwise, people will look down on us at all. Jinglei shrugged and took out his phone. Send Brother Yi a location. He said let us stand still and wait for a while, we will be there soon. Immediately, sure enough, it took only a few minutes to go to the doctor. The three of Jinglei only heard the rumble of the sky, and a long blurred line flashed by. Yi Ren landed in front of them. It's great to be able to fly. Wait, where did you fly from? Dragon Kingdom. Yu Hai and Ice Turtle looked at each other, feeling choked. A few minutes. Flying from Dragon Country to M Country, this speed is really scary. What's next? Yi Ren asked casually. Jinglei said that he had to find the informant first and then kidnap an official from Country M. Then try to get clues from officials. Is it so troublesome? Yi Ren frowned, touched his chin, and had a new idea. The ArcLight Research Institute, the people inside should also know the relevant clues, right? This. Thunder was startled. The ArcLight Research Institute is considered a side mission, and it is extremely difficult, but not surprisingly, people at the institute may know more. Then let's go and occupy the research institute. Yi Ren's rustling made Jinglei and the others speechless. Actually, where does Yi Ren need teammates? Just when Greedy Beast and the others were still looking for informants and executing the plan step by step. Jinglei and they are already under the leadership of Yi Ren. Go to the ArcLight Research Institute in Kent State, M Country. This is crazy. The Ice Turtle whispered that the ArcLight Research Institute is one of the most important research institutes in Country M. Next it is the military base of Country M. Going here, according to Bing Zhao's common sense, is simply a dead end. So, she was scared. Not only her, Yu Hai and Jinglei are retreating, they don't want to make a heroic sacrifice. Perhaps this task should be handed over to Greedy Beast. Just like the previous missions, we're just here to make soy sauce. Brother Yi, what do you think? Yi Ren rolled his eyes, and he picked up an old truck from a nearby pasture. I don't think you need to be afraid, just get in the car. Look at me for the other three. I look at yours. They couldn't help showing wry smiles and worried eyes. If you're really panicking, you can watch a play outside. After the three got into the car, Jinglei is still surprised that he wants to drive to Kenjo. As a result, he saw that the ground was getting farther and farther away from him. Fly up. Yi Ren lifted the truck into the sky. The three people in the car quickly buckled up their seat belts, and the Ice Turtle looked at Yu Hai and was stunned for a moment. Can't you fly? What are you afraid of? Makes sense. Yu Hai flapped his wings and flew to Yi Ren's side. Every feather of the pair of white gradient blue wings is clearly visible. After unfolding, it is more than 3 meters long. Very beautiful. I can fly too, how about, with you? Yu Hai flapped its wings and floated beside Yi Ren. She felt, it's kind of romantic, two flying people flying through the air together. Forget it, you can't keep up with my speed. Yi Ren shook his head. How do you know if you don't try? Yu Hai still didn't believe in evil. She squinted her eyes full of fighting spirit, and spun around Yi Ren several times. Speed of Mach 2. It's not much better than the average fighter. However, call out. Yu Hai blinked his big eyes. She just felt blurred in front of her eyes, and then Yi lifted the truck and disappeared by the side. This speed, it can only be described as beyond reach. Hey, it's too exaggerated. Yu Hai opened his mouth wide with a stiff expression, holding a car weighing 1 or 2 tons, how could it fly so fast? What a pervert, this man. There was another whoosh, and Yi Ren flew back with the car. With a smirk on his face. Get in the car, I said you can't catch up with me. This time, Yu Hai pursed his lips and retreated into the car convincingly, and buckled the seat belt with a click. With the help of bio-force fields. Even though they were flying at super speed, the three of Jinglei didn't feel the slightest discomfort. Otherwise, go at the speed of Yi Ren. Their bodies will disintegrate in an instant, and their flesh and blood will be separated. Speaking of, how did he lift the car? The ice turtle was amazed. This does not conform to physics, even if there is the power to lift the car, but under the action of gravity. Yi Ren should also crush a small piece of the car. He can keep flying while holding the car, or, thanks to the magical biological force field. Arrive. Ah, the car body made a creaking sound and was smoothly placed on the sand. All around was barren. The institute is over there, underground. Others can't see it, but Yi Ren can see through the ground and into the ground. Look at the Jinglei 3, and I'll look at yours. So, Brother Yi, do you have any plans? In the Arclight Research Institute, the matrix buildings built on the ground are just blindfolds. But even so, the vicinity is still full of heavily armed soldiers. There are also many automatic defense turrets, and various high-definition cameras cover each place. There are no dead ends. Not to mention the various heavy weapons near the Research Institute. An armored vehicle that crashed into an anti-infantry cannon. A tank covered with thick armor. There are even many military drones patrolling the skies. Quote. With such a defense level, we can't find a chance to sneak in at all. Quote. Unless something moves them, or try to cut the power. The Jinglei Yu Hai Ice Turtle and the three discussed and searched for an executable plan. The three of them are the weakest among the sword bearers. So we know each other very well. The Ice Turtle is going to attract attention. Since your defense is so high, you are not afraid of being set on fire. Then Jinglei and I went to cut off the power supply to create an opportunity to sneak in. The Ice Turtle couldn't help giving a thumbs up. You really don't regard me as a teammate. If you really let them come over, can I still live? Although Yu Hai said Qian Jiao that he would come back and take the Ice Turtle away. But she would say nothing. After all, there is only one life. Who would joke about such a thing? Boom. Suddenly, a loud noise not far away startled them. Jinglei and the three quickly looked. I saw Yi Ren flying in midair, and with the sound just now, he raised the tank and smashed it into the center of the Research Institute. Matrix building destroyed. A large amount of gravel was splashed, the tank was deformed under the impact of the huge force, and more than half of the Research Institute on the surface collapsed. Dust rose. Hundreds of guns were aimed at Yi Ren in the air. The endless sound of gunfire rang out. Firecrackers are not so lively during Chinese New Year, but the dense bullets fell on Yi Ren. In addition to tearing clothes apart, it didn't even leave a mark on the surface of his skin. Chirp Tiger. A recoilless missile from an armored vehicle landed a precise hit in Yi Ren's chest. All of a sudden, black smoke billowed, covering Yi Ren's figure in midair. Is he dead? The soldiers howled. They're just a group of common infantry stationed outside the Arclight Institute. No one has ever dared to come here to seek their own death. But, for them, the nightmare came so suddenly. I didn't want to kill so many people. The smoke cleared. Yi Ren looked at the black muzzles of the guns under his feet. His eyes were filled with red light, and two thick laser beams shot out the next moment. Ah! The armored vehicle split in half in an instant. The incision was extremely flat, still shining orange light, and then slowly cooled. The sad soldier in the armored vehicle. It also turned into two pieces in an instant, and he was the one who fired the armor-piercing bullet just now. Yi Ren kept his hot gaze and turned his head slowly. Everywhere you look, All of them are devastated with charcoal and corpses. The efficiency is like cutting wheat, brush it. They fell to the ground one by one. At the back, those soldiers who had not been exposed to the light and were terrified escaped with snot and tears. For these fleeing soldiers, Yi Ren didn't chase after the murderer either. Gala. Yi Ren fell to the gate of the research institute, and he forcibly tore off the half-meter thick alloy gate. Then, Yi Ren returned to the Jinglei trio who had been dazed and sluggish. Throw the alloy door in your hand to the ground. Clang. The weight seemed to shake the ground, and the man swallowed his saliva and came back to his senses. What are you doing in a daze? Let's go in, or do you want to stand outside and bask in the sun? Hear Yi Ren's words. The three of them thought about it with complex expressions. There was a lot of movement here, and the military base tens of kilometers away would definitely be able to detect it. Soldiers from those military bases will definitely come over by then. Standing outside is not just courting death. Go in for sure. At this time, the alarm sound in the Underground Research Institute was like a reminder, and everyone couldn't help but cover their ears. Red's warning light also kept flashing. Someone has invaded the institute, and the fortifications above have been broken. The person in charge of the institute, Dr. Tano, had a gloomy face. He has a beard, sallow skin, and gold-rimmed glasses. The Mediterranean Sea overhead is very conspicuous. He looked at the picture on the monitoring screen calmly and steadily, and comforted his subordinates. Don't worry, they can't open the elevator without an employee card. However, it turns out, who said you have to wait for the doors to open automatically when you enter an elevator? Two heat sites with reduced energy scorched through the elevator door, and Yi Ren walked in with Jinglei and the others. Dr. Mediterranean Tano clenched his fists instinctively. His men looked at him nervously. Don't worry, he can't use the elevator without an employee card. Just finished. Through the camera in the elevator, they saw Yi Ren break the cable. He carried the elevator and flew down towards the Underground Research Institute. Dr. Tano took a deep breath. He immediately said over the radio. Attention all staff, the Arc-Light Research Institute has been invaded by unknown persons, please seek shelter immediately. Repeat. Please put down all the work in your hands and seek shelter immediately. There are more than 100 scientists or researchers in the Arc-Light Research Institute. After hearing the broadcast, they all hurriedly transferred. Dr. Tano patted his shoulders. You go too. Then, what about you, Doctor? I will activate the response plan, release all the experimental subjects, and then catch up with you, go. The other side. Yi Ren smashed through the wall with one punch, and brought the three of Jinglei to the Underground Research Institute unimpeded. Wide hallways with white walls. Everything looks warm and peaceful. That's because the researchers working here have signed agreements with the country officials. I can only go home once every 5 years. So the standard of living in this place is very high. According to the information previously provided by the informant, the Arc-Light Research Institute is one of the important strongholds for Country M to study and produce compound number 6. Jinglei looked at everything around him in surprise. I can't believe it. He actually just followed Yi Ren here to the mysterious Arc-Light Research Institute. Compound number 6, after being injected into ordinary people, has a probability of giving it superpowers. Although this probability is not high. However, the surviving supernatural beings will receive substantial body strengthening. Weak abilities can only resist small caliber bullets. Strong supernatural beings are invulnerable to weapons and guns. Even if a tank barrel is put in its mouth and fired, it cannot break the defense. And such things as supernatural powers. It is also after compound number 6 is injected that the host wakes up randomly. Full of uncertainty. You three don't need to be nervous, just follow me. Yi Ren couldn't help but smile when he saw Yu Hai and the ice turtle looking like they were facing a formidable enemy. After all, for them, this is the Arc-Light Research Institute. At this time, Dr. Mediterranean Tano has released the door lock of the sea-level supervision area. Drop. Red's door lock changes to green. Doors open suddenly, and the experimental subjects inside were either confused or crazy. They all left the prison in confusion. They stood in the corridor, looking around. In normal times, they can only leave the prison and enter the corridors and activity rooms at certain times. During the period, a special electric shock chain will be worn. But now, there was no one around, it was too quiet, too quiet. Are we free? Some experimental subjects showed ecstatic expressions. Then with a sharp smile, he rushed to the door of the corridor. The door, which would have been electrified, was easily opened by him at this moment. This time, all the experimental subjects rushed out excitedly. Dr. Tano looked at the image on the screen with a slightly relaxed expression. These experimental bodies, most of them are inmates in the prison, who were secretly sent to the research institute by Country M. As the number 6 compound, the human experiment is carried out. Dr. Tano's dream is to create a 100% awakening human ability without any side effects. Compound number 6 that does not cause death in humans. For this he needs a lot of experimental subjects, in other words, people who died in his hands. Countless. Some experimental subjects who survived and awakened their abilities. They will be categorized and put into the supervision area, and the valuable ones will be brainwashed and handed over to the M country military. The worthless ones were put to death after a certain period of time. It is then used as a starting material for new compounds. Free. Under the remote guidance of Dr. Tano, these supernatural experimenters rushed towards Yi Ren and the others. On the monitoring screen, they met. My God, so many. Jing Lei's face changed, Yu Hai flew up instantly, and the ice turtle put out its weapon. Some of these supernatural beings crawled on the wall like spiders. Some ran and their bodies turned into a pool of mud. Some can take off their heads and kick them as balls. Also, running while spitting flames from the eyes. At this moment, Yi Ren opened his hands, and then slapped forward fiercely. Boom. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.